What's up, everybody? Welcome back to Tavern Talks 2.0. I'm welcomed again by my good friend Alex again. How's it going, Alex? How you doing?
Yeah, it's going. Just looking at games, being a nerd, doing the thing.
Living the life?
Living the life.
Well, I just got done cutting down a tree, so I'm exhausted, but we're going to do this anyway. This is going to be a tier list again, because I saw you guys really liked the last one, and this one's on video games, which is much more in our wheelhouse. Well, at least myself and Alex, you know, I've played a fair bit of D&D, but I played even more video games. I have been a video game person since I was probably 6 years old. So, you know, going into this, kind of looking at things, picking out some of the best games. Oh, I should specify, these are the best games that we've looked at for the entirety of the 2020s to date. So from January of 2020 through now, everything that's come out, we're right about at the halfway point of the decade, which is crazy. But yeah, we each picked 10 games that we feel deserve to be on this list, whether they're good or bad, just kind of influential games. And we're going to basically pitch to each other and say, this is how, you know, we feel this should be rated, and this is why. But before we get into that, make sure you guys drop a like down below, you subscribe to Velvet Games, and ring that bell so you're notified when we release new content. We just came out with a video the other day, I guess it's been about a week now since that came out, for Chocolate Factory Simulator. No spoilers, but it certainly is a game. So I'll let the little timer thing, the little, what do you call it? The little tick mark thing in the corner, the link in the corner. You'll see it. It's in the top right corner. Pop up and you'll be able to click that and go watch that video. And then come back here and watch this, because we're gonna have a lot of fun. But without further ado, I think we should just get right into it. So, Alex, I'll give you first dibs. Anything in this list that I know you already have your set and my set, that you want to talk about right now?
Oof. Okay. All right. Here's the dilemma. Do we want to start off positive or negative?
That is entirely up to you. If you want to crap on a game right now, you can crap on a game.
All right. Halo Infinite. Let's do it. I need to get this off my chest.
Halo Infinite.
All right. So this could fall into two categories. It depends on if you're a Halo fan or not. If you're not a Halo fan, I would say overhyped. If you are a Halo fan, brain damage.
Ooh.
Absolutely brain damage.
Ooh, and I've heard a lot of stuff. Now, I did not grow up playing Halo per se. I've played Halo. I think I've played Halo 4, Halo Reach, Halo 3. Did I say Halo 3?
I believe you said Halo 3, yes.
Okay, so Halo 3, Halo 4, which I think is Reach. Was that Reach? Anyway, you can tell I'm not a Halo fan. Did not really grow up with Xbox.
This hurts me.
Listen. I was a PlayStation guy, okay? I had PlayStation and also GameCube. GameCube was...
Yes.
GameCube was boss.
Yes. GameCube is fan. Yes.
Anyway, so with that, I mean, I thought Reach was okay. Like, it was interesting in the way that they tackled some of the stuff. Like, I thought the vehicle combat was pretty intuitive back then. I have not played Infinite. I really was not excited when I saw this come out. So
let me take you on a quick little journey, right? So Halos 1, 2, and 3 were the core games. Fantastic. Those were that was the Bungie era, right? Bungie said, we're done making Halo. We're done. We want to move on to something new, which is why we got Destiny.
And now Microsoft said no.
No. They did. So what ends up happening is they made ODST, which was fantastic, which was done in the Halo 3 engine. To this day, one of my favorite Halo games. Good soundtrack. Halo Reach comes out as a collaborative effort between 343 Industries, which is who does Halo now, and Bungie, who's technically speaking Bungie's last Halo game. They dip, they say goodbye. Everyone's happy with Reach because Reach was actually fantastic. You know, it's It was good. But after Halo Reach, they changed the art style. They changed everything. We got Halo 4, which was terrible. Cinematically, great. But the sound design, the character design, the way the new enemies looked, terrible. And multiplayer-wise, it was just Call of Duty.
Oof.
Like, everything was just...
Hey,
and when I say just Call of Duty, I mean they added kill streaks for some reason. They added loadouts. Like, everything about Halo was just gone.
Get that tactical nuke?
Yes. Halo 5 comes out. The entire game is just riddled with microtransactions. They had literal loot boxes for the multiplayer in a game that you paid $60 for. The story was garbage. It didn't make sense. Leaves off on a cliffhanger, right? And it was so bad that they don't even address it because Halo Infinite was supposed to be Halo 6. Well, if this tells you anything, the story starts off with like, oh man, I'm glad we concluded all the things that we did back, in Halo 5, and they never talk about it again.
Oh man.
They just move on as if nothing happened.
I hate when studios retcon stuff like that, where honestly, I'd actually rather them either attempt to salvage it or just start from scratch. If you're gonna try to, because I get it, right? Like, you want to keep an IP alive. This was my big issue with Star Wars, right? Episode 7, 8, and 9. The whole thing was, episode 7 was interesting. It left a lot of room for, okay, they could do some real stuff with this. Episode 8 destroyed it. They switched directors. It just basically crapped on the franchise and said, this is the direction we're going. And everyone hated it. And then they went back to J.J. Abrams and he attempted to salvage it and it just fell apart. And the whole, it negates it. To me, 7, 8, and 9 aren't even a thing. But we're going to talk about that in another episode of this. So keep an eye out for that one.
Please, I want to be in that episode if that's happening. I have so many opinions.
Listen.
Oh my God.
We're going to tell you what, and we're going to make it happen. We're going to do a 3-way with Iron. He's a really cool guy. For those watching, the video actually came out last week. Go watch that. That was really fun. We talked all about Holiday Matsuri and conventions. And part 2 is coming out next week, so you get to hear a little bit more from him. But he's a really cool guy, and he is a big Star Wars nerd as well. We talked a little bit about that in the last episode, and we're going to talk more about that in an upcoming episode. I honestly think like Star Wars deserves its own episode. So getting back on track, talking about Halo, where you were saying that they basically retconned it and then tried to salvage.
It's not even that. It's not even the story that. Okay, I can get hurt and butthurt over Halo Infinite in the story, but that's just a me thing, just because how near and dear Halo is to me, like into my heart, right? But what I can't forgive, right, is the fact that we were charged $60 for a game with the idea, right, that the game was going to be done in the future via expansions, right? Meaning the future of the Halo's core story is going to be then released in small little snippets, maybe around like $35 or something like that, right? Because they're just going to be adding a little bit more to the engine. Microsoft spent, I think it's called Slipstream or something like that, on the new engine, spent like millions or billions of dollars or whatever just to make this engine, just for them to be like, damn, this game sucks. Like, are you kidding me? And then on top of that, the multiplayer, right? The multiplayer is where the fans are pissed, right? Because they made it free to play, which is fine. Good move. That's fine. Cool. But Halo used to be the king of in-game rewards, meaning you want these cosmetics, you gotta earn them. You gotta do this, you gotta rank up, you gotta unlock it. We'll give you an in-game credit or whatever, like some sort of in-game currency that you get, but you can only get it by playing the game. You can't just buy your way into things, right?
Oh yeah.
And then the battle pass system, which was actually revolutionary. I think it's the same battle pass system or a similar battle pass system rather than what Marvel Rivals is doing now, which is fantastic. This was a good battle pass system where there's no FOMO. Right? The battle passes are just there.
Yeah.
Right? So if there's stuff that's in the battle pass and you like it, but you can't afford it right now, don't worry about it. Like 3 years from now, right? If Halo Infinite is still running, you can go all the way back to season 1, season 2 and buy the battle pass, and then you can select that battle pass as the one that you're earning experience towards whenever you play the game, which is incredible, right? There's no FOMO. Problem. You know what came out in those battle passes? Basic armor. Armor that we have seen in every single mainline Halo game since Halo 3. And then they took the Master Chief's armor and a bunch of other stuff that we saw and put it behind a paywall that you could only get via a microtransaction and only in a rotating shop.
Yeah, I absolutely hate when they do stuff like that. To be honest, any game that is going to do microtransactions, I feel like they're walking a very fine line. You know, they have to do it right, because I've seen a lot of companies, you know, not to crap on them too much, because I know they're like or at least they used to be like the gold standard, but like CSGO got really aggressive with the whole like, okay, open your loot boxes and stuff, and people got obsessed with it to the point they made more money on the microtransactions than they ever did on the game by miles. And the thing is, at least with a game like CSGO, okay, most of it is just cosmetic. But when you start adding in components, especially with a season pass or any kind of, loot boxes or anything like that, where it's going to affect the gameplay itself, you really have to make sure you're executing that correctly, because my gosh, can it go wrong very quickly. And what you're describing is exactly where I would consider it to go very wrong very quickly.
Well, it's not that it affects gameplay necessarily. It's just that it was like they were spitting in our face.
Right.
Like, it's like everything that we ever knew about Halo, everything that made Halo is just gone. Like, Halo's entire thing was that it was a couch co-op game that you and your brother or your parents or whatever, you would go to a midnight release, bring the game home, and then just couch co-op the campaign and get it done like that night or the next night or whatever, right? When Halo 5 came out, it didn't even have co-op.
Oh, that's disgusting.
Halo 5, to my knowledge, Halo 5 to this very day still does not have couch co-op. It is only cooperative online.
Now, we played Halo on the channel. Now, granted, it was, I don't want to call it an emulator because it was still official. It was the re-release they did through Xbox. So, you know, it was the Xbox.
Are you talking about Master Chief Collection?
I think so, yeah.
I like the Master Chief Collection. I don't have a problem with the Master Chief Collection. It's actually pretty good.
Yeah, and it follows all the, the original, gameplay, or what am I saying? The game mechanics and everything. So it's not like you're missing out on the original experience.
Yeah, no, I played every day.
Yeah, especially because like if you don't have a 360 or, well, let's see, Halo 3, was that on the original Xbox?
No, that was Halo 1 and 2 were on the original Xbox, okay, and then the rest were on 360.
It was yeah, right there. So okay. Yeah, so like if you didn't have a 360, like you're not going to be able to play that game. And like finding a 360 that still works these days is a bit more challenging than it used to be. But yeah, I mean the whole idea of Halo was like that, like you mentioned, you get the game, you're there with your buddies, probably 3 or 4 people at least, and you stay up until 3 a.m. eating pizza and drinking Mountain Dew and playing the stuff. Like I feel like every teenage boy who has had that opportunity in their life has that as a core memory.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I mean, if this tells you anything, I love the Master Chief Collection with an absolute passion, right? Because yes, the Master Chief Collection, if you were to buy it right now, is $60, but I'm sorry, I think it might be 50, right? But the Master Chief Collection isn't one game.
Right.
It's modular. This is something I love about the Master Chief Collection, right? Is that you can technically, instead of buying the whole thing all together, if you only want a specific game, it's $10. It's $9.99. So if you want to play the original Halo, because keep in mind, it's not just the original Halo, right? It's not just like Halo Combat Evolved. It's Halo Combat Evolved, but also you can toggle in between the old graphics and the new graphics. You can toggle between the old armors and the new armors. You can toggle between, what the new experience would be with Halo Anniversary, plus the original experience as it was at the time, right? Plus they added a whole bunch of other stuff that you could do as well, which is great. Plus there's mod support. Right? It's not just, hey, we're going to give you a game, go screw off. No, they gave us an entire platform for it. They did it for Halo 1, Halo 2, Halo 3, Halo 4, Halo ODST, and Halo Reach are all in this. And you get each one for $10. and it's fantastic. Yeah, like obviously you're not going to be able to bring back the multiplayer experiences and the main menus as they were at the time, but they did a really good job.
Right. Well,
like they did a fantastic job.
Bringing it back to Halo. So with all that said, Halo Infinite, where
Brain
would
damage.
Brain damage, really? Okay.
Brain damage.
I
don't think it gives enough value to a person who has never played Halo before.
You know, I'd have to agree with you. I personally have not played Halo, so, you know, take it with a grain of salt. This is from other people's impressions. Everybody I've ever spoken to about this game does not like it.
It's an open world game that you can finish in 3 hours on Legendary.
Yeah, see that, and that's a whole nother conversation. So for the sake of time, I'm going to plop it in brain damage. Whoa, I don't know why that happened. That's okay. That's it's winging out a little bit. What is happening?
You can do it. I believe in you.
Hold on. I'm going to refresh this. What? Okay, Halo. There we go.
There you go.
Okay,
yeah.
Glitched out on me a little bit. Hey, it's the site I'm using. Whatever. Anyway, yeah. So okay. With that, let's go ahead and move on to the next game. You know, I think I'm gonna dive right into Half-Life Alyx. So this is one of my titles that I chose. I really liked Half-Life Alyx. Full disclosure, I did not play the game to its absolute completion. I think I got about 80% of the way through, and the main reason I ran into an issue is because I was having some heating issues with my computer, where it was not able to run VR efficiently. And then I changed the whole setup. I haven't set up, you know, VR and everything. So I haven't played it in a long time. I really liked it. I actually got this game free when I got the Valve Index controllers, which, by the way, are vastly superior to any other controller for VR that I have ever used. Like, no question, they are just the best VR controllers.
I had the HTC, I had the Vive Cosmos Elite.
Yeah,
and it was great, but the controls sucked. I immediately went and got the Index controllers, and that's also how I got Half-Life Alyx for free.
Yeah,
but
you know what?
Fantastic
though?
controllers.
It's a Half-Life game. Yeah, I know a lot of people are joking, like, oh, that's your Half-Life 3. That's not Half-Life 3. Let's be very clear about this. This is a side campaign. It's kind of like and I know it's not even in the same like category, but like Black Mesa. Like it's not Half-Life. Like it is, but it's not. So it's not the main one. It's not Half-Life 3. You know, maybe we'll see that.
It's Half-Life with an asterisk.
Yeah, it's Half-Life with an asterisk. But the whole idea of being able to like be in that world first person is so cool. The ability to kind of move around and interact with stuff. Especially
the puzzle solving was fun.
Say again?
The puzzle solving was actually fun.
The puzzle solving was really cool. But just the ability to like interact with things within that world. Because again, like, you know, I grew up playing like Gmod and, you know, Half-Life and all those things with that engine. Team Fortress 2 to a lesser extent. I know it's a different engine technically, but you know.
Well, no, it's all source. We'll include it.
It's all source.
We appreciate our TF2 bros out there. We love you. You're great. Keep doing what you're doing. Scout did nothing wrong. I'm sorry. Continue.
No, but honestly, you know, the concept of being able to be inside one of these games that is very nostalgic, is a lot of fun. You know, especially because like at the end of the day, not every VR game. Okay, I'll say it. Most VR games suck pretty hard. Oh yeah. There is. I would say the 85th to 90th percentile of VR games are just total garbage. And that last like 10% is in a sweet spot where it's like, this is really good. I want to continue playing. And then there's like 10% of that is really good. And I've got another title in here for that. We'll talk about that in a minute. But honestly, I feel like I really like Half-Life Alyx, but I don't think it's God tier. I personally would put that in the great category, mostly because it's not Half-Life 3. The controls could get a little clunky at times, and VR as a whole, as a medium, you know, especially for something story-based, I feel like VR works better in like a sandbox environment as opposed to something story-based where I'm able to pause it, set it down for a little while, give myself, you know, a chance to rest. Half-Life Alyx felt like, and maybe this is just me, I felt like I was compelled to continue playing it. And maybe that's a good thing on normal games, but when you start getting like eye strain or getting dizzy and whatnot in VR after playing it for so long, or even just overheating, like these are all negative drawbacks. Again, I don't want to put too much on it for that because the game itself is good, and that's more a complaint of VR in general, but that's the main thing where I would say it would be great, not God tier.
I would also put it in great. Here's something I want to add though. What I appreciate the most about Half-Life Alyx, right, is that, and bear in mind, I'm not the biggest Half-Life fan, so you Half-Life fans out there, you might have a different opinion, which is completely fine and valid. But for me, I like Half-Life. I'm just not like a big major Half-Life fan personally. Half-Life Alyx made me feel nostalgic for a game that I shouldn't have as much nostalgia for, but it didn't feel like it was attacking and latching on to my nostalgia. I didn't feel pandered to. It's not like Star Wars, where I felt like the entire reason why they brought like literally anything up was specifically to make me feel nostalgic. It felt more like it felt like I was just given the chance to just breathe the same air again, but without it being forced down my throat. And I can really, really appreciate when they give you something that's naturally nostalgic just because it takes place in the same time frame, but not because they're trying to make a quick buck, especially considering, they gave it out for free. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I feel it made me feel good and confident about the state of where Valve has been.
Oh yeah.
And I appreciate Valve for doing that.
And you say they give it out for free, which is technically true, but at the same token, you had to pay, $200 for new, VR controllers. That said, I didn't get the VR controllers for Half-Life Alyx. It just happened to come with it. And I looked at it and said, you know what? That would be really cool if I was able to play this game, because it's something that, like you said, Valve has put a lot of like effort and love into, and you can feel it. It doesn't feel like a game, like you mentioned, that is overly pandery. It just, they created this environment for you to be able to live and play in, that really feels like Half-Life, like you mentioned, very nostalgic, but not so much to the extent of like, every single character that from this other thing is in this. And, I don't remember hearing Gordon Freeman's name mentioned in this. Like maybe it was in passing.
I think it was a couple times in the beginning. I think in the beginning they talked about just a very, like a little bit whenever Alex was talking to, is it her dad? I think so, yeah. Like towards the beginning, like right, like by like in that elevator scene, like in that general area, like way at the beginning.
Okay, yeah, I think you're right. But
I think it was like maybe once or twice. But
that,
yeah, no,
it's
you're
not
right.
like they, like every 5 seconds. Oh, Gordon Freeman, Mr. Freeman.
Yeah.
You don't hear that all the time, and I appreciate that they're not just trying to ram it down your throat. So I think we're in consensus. Great tier.
Yep. Great tier.
All right. With that, let's look at the next title. What are we poking at?
All right. So I'm just gonna come out with it. Among Us.
Oh, Among Us.
So I want to say God tier. I do.
Ooh, that's some strong praise.
Now, no. Here's the thing, right? Among Us, A, was an indie game.
Okay.
B, was around before COVID, right? It was around before COVID, but really, really, really took off during COVID. It's not like they hit the sweet spot. It's that they were already out. COVID happened and everybody played it, right? You know that your game is amazing when you have not only streamers making their entire careers collaborating with each other off of this, like it created an entirely new generation of YouTube and Twitch.
That's a good
changed
point.
Streaming entirely. Then on top of that, lest we forget, and I'm not going to bring politics into this, but we had literal Congress people playing this game. They were using Among Us to partner with Twitch streamers to push a political agenda.
You say that like it's a good thing.
It's not a matter of good or bad. It's a matter of what is the reputation, or how good does the reputation of a game have to be for politics to get involved without them trying to shut the game down like Grand Theft Auto.
Yeah, no, you're
you have to have a lot of pull to be able to pull that off. Then on top of that, we have an entire culture around merchandise and just phrasing. Like, you saying the word sus, like something is sus or something is suspicious before like Among Us came out, was already like just a phrase that we used. But now you cannot say that word or that phrase without Among Us becoming the thing.
So
it has transcended being just a game. It is so, even to this day, it is culturally relevant. And that's something that you can never take away from it. When you transcend the platform that you originally came out on as an indie developer to the point where there are congressional like staffers and actual congressmen playing your game, that's kind of a big deal for an indie developer.
Yeah, no, so here's the thing, right? I will 100% agree with you on the meme status of it. There is no
also,
question
I
about
really
it.
enjoy the game.
There is no question about its relevance in the 2020s. I honestly think, like, I don't know if I can think of another game that was quite as influential as Among Us, mainly because of the memes that it spawned, the people that's played it, honestly, just the culture that kind of came from that. I feel like the
Five Nights at Freddy's would be the only other game that I would put in that same breath, and even then, Five Nights at Freddy's doesn't have a congressional record.
Oh yes, but
you know what I mean.
Moreover, I would agree with that, except I would actually disagree with the Five Nights at Freddy's. I think that Five Nights at Freddy's is very influential, but I don't think it reaches the same meme status as Among Us.
No, that's what I'm saying. Like, I would only, the closest thing to that in terms of like memedness and cultural relevance would be Five Nights at Freddy's, just because it's such a big deal. Like they have a movie. You know what I mean?
Yeah, but everything gets a movie eventually, you know.
I guess that's fair. Yeah.
So I'm waiting for the Among Us movie.
that'd be.
Listen,
wait, no.
Skibbity Toilet's getting a movie. We can have the Among Us movie. All right.
Hold on. But we already have the Alien movies.
Oh, this is true. It's basically just Alien. So
hold on.
Here's the thing about Among Us, and I gotta point this out. It is not a unique concept. It has been done before. It's been done on Town of Salem, on all of the like Secret Werewolf or Secret. I don't even know if I can say the H word on YouTube.
You're talking about you're talking about just social deception games, and no, I agree with you.
It's not a unique concept. However, the way they executed it was very good. I have to admit, it's probably the closest thing we'll ever get to this being a god tier status for what the game is. And for that, I would have to agree with you. It has achieved god tier status.
Yep. Among Us will go down in history as one of the most known games of all time, especially amongst those who literally have never touched a video game before.
Now, is it one of the greatest games ever made? I don't think so.
No. It's okay. In terms of if we're strictly talking about the gameplay itself and all that other stuff, I mean, I would probably put it in good. But outside of that, a game is more than just the gameplay.
It's more than the sum of its parts. So I 100% agree with you. I think it needed to go in god tier, and there's nothing we could do to change that. It's there. Nope. It's locked in. We're moving on.
Also, they added skins. Just throwing that out there. Continue.
Crazy. Okay. Oh, what is the next one I want to look at? I guess while we're on the indie track, let's look at Valheim.
I thought you were talking about Indiana Jones.
No, that's a different type of indie. So Valheim is an interesting one because I had seen, again, this is like the COVID era. I remember seeing videos of this coming out and, people building houses and things. I think CDawg VA did a video with Iron Mouse where they made the giant house and, are going around doing their stuff. Like, I remember seeing these videos thinking, that looks interesting, and then didn't get it for years. It is technically still in early access. I think I don't have Steam open. I'll have to look at that later. But with all that said, it's an interesting game. It's sort of within the survival series, because like I was trying to put my finger on it. Like, what does this game remind me of? It's a little bit like a cross between like Ark Survival and Rust, but Vikings. And I say that mainly because there's sort of this element of, and I have to say this, like the fact that they got all the Norse mythology as accurate as they did, and I say as accurate as they did because obviously, you know, like it's mythology and it varies wildly depending on where you're looking, but you know, they got the mythology correct to as much as I could see that it was there for what's utilized. One of the things that really stands out, and I have to say this game is strikingly beautiful for as low res as it is, but that's just sort of the aesthetic. When you're standing in the middle of this, you can look up and see the world tree. That was the coolest thing. And moreover, it's definitely in a skybox, right? Like it's not something you can reach, but at the same token, as you're moving around the world, that thing is moving with you. And it gives this sort of illusion that you're able to like reach this massive, and it makes it seem so much bigger than it looks. It's not just a texture painted on a sky. It's a physical object. And as you're moving around it, you can see the way the sunlight reflects off of it. You can see like it glows in the night. It is the coolest looking thing. And as far as gameplay goes, while I don't think it is the most groundbreaking gameplay ever put to a video game, the fact that it's so expansive and so welcoming for multiplayer, for large parties of people, that really gives it sort of a special feel to it. If I have one gripe with it, it's that I wish that they had a little bit more of a preferential treatment towards large servers with a lot of people in them to be able to create like factions and, you know, build cities and stuff like that. And technically you can do it. It's just not very nice to do that. Like doing so takes a lot of effort in a way that it doesn't feel like the game was really built for that. And it's kind of like trying to make a computer out of redstone in Minecraft. Like you can do it, but it's not really made to do that.
I do want to throw this out there. You know why it's so accurate to Viking and Norse lore?
Why is that?
It's where the devs are from.
There you go. I mean,
they're from Sweden.
That's the thing. That's the thing, right? Like a lot of places will do that though, where they'll attempt to reach this thing and, connect to some greater part of themselves, and it falls flat. I think Valheim does it in a very welcoming way, where it's not like, like it gives you little like Easter eggs, but it also tells you what the Easter eggs are. It's not, screaming in your face. Like, for example, the two ravens that greet you in Valheim, which is like this extra planar. It's almost like a limbo, if you will, for warriors. The two ravens are literally Odin's ravens.
I put 40 hours of gameplay in 3 sessions. I'm just throwing that out there.
Yeah, I mean, that tells you it's very addicting. And
I have only played 3 sessions.
You need to play more. I've probably put a good, 200 hours at least into it.
Well, because the whole point was for me to play with my friends, and then we all kind of just decided to kind of like just drop it. I will say we did get kind of bored of it, but that's also just because we had a whole bunch. Like, there was a whole bunch of other games that came out around the same time, like Valorant, for example.
I was gonna say you can play with me. Like you just don't play with me.
Homie, I can't even play my own games right now. I got too much homework.
I'll finish that homework. But anyway,
39.1 hours in 3 sessions.
So I mean so it just goes to show it's very addicting game. The fact that they're constantly adding new stuff, and I know it's still in early access, but it's not just like, oh, they added a new enemy or something like that. No. They add entire biomes, and every biome has like a new resource that you can mine, which is required to get to the next stage or fight the next boss.
I'm gonna throw this out there. It's only 2.5 gigs.
It's very small. That's one of the things that I really like about it.
Optimized.
Honestly, in the world of indie, it's god tier. However, I think as a game overall, I would only put it as great. And my main complaint with this is that the worlds can sometimes feel a little either disjointed or empty. And maybe that's just me. Maybe I'm not playing on the right servers. You know, I usually host my own, or I'll play with a friend. But, you know, to get from basically just spawning in for the first time to having your first ship take so much time and so much effort. And when you're putting in all this time and effort, there's a lot of travel that's involved. And when you're traveling back and forth, you're only moving maybe 30 miles an hour, which again is realistic for the you know, the vessels you're using. But at the same token, you're like, I have to, you know, travel, you know, 60 kilometers at 30 miles an hour to get from my base to this other place that has the resource I need. And I need to do this 6 times. It just,
I just use teleporters.
So you're not even supposed to, like when it comes to mining, like, you know, iron and stuff like that. If you're talking wood, that's different, but then you can turn it off. I know. Honestly, I kind of wish that wasn't even a thing, but like,
wait, what are you talking about?
For teleporters?
Yeah.
In order to move raw materials like iron, you know, copper and tin, you can't go through a teleporter normally.
What do you mean? You just make it on the spot. Just keep the stuff in it. You have a teleporter back at base. You just have someone else name the channel, and then you're good.
Yeah, but again, this is a matter of like, you know, if you're trying to, because sometimes you'll need to bring things together. It'll be like you need a little bit of iron and a little bit of copper or something like that. If you're gonna do that, you need to have it all in one place. So technically, and they did patch this where you're allowed to then turn off the I forget what they call it. It's like the materials restriction or something like that. Where then
I didn't know that was even a thing.
Yeah,
get it.
Yeah, you can actually turn it off now. So now you can walk through with iron and stuff like that. And it feels a little cheaty, mainly because it defaults to the other one, and it's like, okay, I'm making it easier. But if you're not looking to spend, you know, 25, 30 hours in a game just traveling around a map that seems pretty empty, you're gonna want to turn that on. But like I said, that's really my main complaint with it. That's the only thing keeping it from a god tier is really the fact that the combat is a little basic and it's a very empty feeling world at times, especially if you're not playing with large parties of people. You know, if you're playing with one other person, it can feel pretty empty.
I wouldn't put it in great tier, to be honest. I put it in good.
Really?
Good. Because I feel like even within games within its own genre, it's not necessarily competitive in terms of like how many people actively play it, what they're gonna like, how many people are still actively enjoying it. You know, what's the community support behind it, the hype that surrounds it, the culture that's around it. If we're talking about just core gameplay, then yeah, I guess you could make the argument for great. But even then, I just feel like there's so many other like survival games out there. I mean, even you just mentioned Ark and Rust, right? Not to mention Minecraft. There's just so many resource allocation style survival games out there that are just a better bang for my buck, right? And also have way bigger like player bases. So, you know, and mods, stuff like that.
Let's do this, because I agree to some extent.
Like, I know it's not competing with Minecraft, but there's also other survival games that I just feel I would just enjoy more. I mean, personally, I even enjoy Stardew Valley more.
It's kind of apples to oranges, because those are all very different games. I would not compare Rust to Minecraft. You know, like they're very different within their own respects. They have their own fan bases. For example, I love Minecraft. I hate Rust. I do not like Rust.
Same, I agree.
It's very much like the fact that they, you know, you don't get to customize your own characters. They do the server wipes every 30 days. Like, you lose all your progress. I just do not like that. I feel like they take too much control away from the player. And I get what they're trying to do. Is like, well, you don't get to choose who you are in real life and everything. It's like, well, then stop wiping the map and making me reset everything. If you're going to make it a matter of like, you know, oh, well, you don't get to choose anything. Okay, then let me work with it, what you've given me, instead of forcing me to restart. And then you have to battle these people that are just no-lifers living in the game.
No, I agree. I'm primarily just saying like Valheim to like Ark, for example, right? I feel like that's an apt one-to-one comparison.
I don't even know about that, because like the difference between those is that Ark is very like, it's goofy in its own way, but it's also very serious, very hardcore, because you can literally spawn and get eaten by a raptor in like 2 seconds. The chances of that happening in Valheim are slim to none. you're pretty much going to end up spawning in some very gentle, meadow. Like maybe you encounter a boar or something. Like they're very different in that regard. I feel like they have enough differences that they're still kind of apples to oranges.
I wouldn't go that far. A difficulty tweak is not gonna really change it for me. I'm sorry, it's just not. Like at its core, if you take the gameplay elements, right, like the core, the point of the game, how you collect resources, how you create a base, how you utilize other players on the server in order to actually survive and thrive, stuff like that, is the same game. Right. Obviously, one's fantasy themed and the other one's sci-fi dino themed, right? But the core gameplay elements are the same.
Yeah, no, I mean, you're
I mean, right down to the methods of travel, with the exception of like Ark has that little bit of like kind of like almost like a taming dinos thing. There is that element to it. I'm not running around taming goblins, but like it's between the biomes and the different Easter eggs and the weapons and crafting and all that other stuff. It feels very similar.
I'll agree to disagree with you on this one, but I will agree with you that it could go in good, mainly because I was just thinking about the fact it does have some balancing issues. It's definitely not like the most
wolves.
The bloody wolves. Oh, and then the what is it, the Fenrir or whatever it is?
Yeah, that too. Yeah.
The goblins, for that matter. I don't know if you've ever made it to the plains. I don't know when you played last, but like they have these plains now and these little goblin creatures. You can accidentally wind up in a plains and you're like, oh, this is lovely. It's so nice. And it's like, oh, there's a little goblin. And then he walks up and does 65 damage to you in one swing and it kills you instantly. I'm like, great. Well,
that's fun.
That is not okay. And then your ship is stranded. So like certain things, like I feel like either they nerf it or they add like localized, respawns or something, but like balancing issues, granted, it's an early access, but those issues been around long enough. I feel like I'll agree with you. It belongs in good. Cool. So what are we looking at next?
Let's see. I went negative with Halo. I went positive with Among Us. So I guess we can go negative again.
You got stuff to say, right. I guess.
Yeah. All right. Let's do Baldur's Gate. No, I'm kidding.
Oh, no. That's not even yours.
All right. Let's do Pokemon Scarlet and Violet. Let's go there.
Okay.
I think this is a good one that needs to be said. So I obviously big time gamer, long time Pokemon. Like I feel like you can't. I feel like you cannot have been born in the 90s or the early 2000s and not in some way, shape, or form be a Pokemon fan. Even if you never played the games, there's the anime, there's the card game. What was it? 2016. There was Pokemon Go. Like,
here's the thing. I was completely sheltered from Pokemon as a child because my parents heard about the whole flashing lights incident on that one episode and like forbade me from ever watching it.
Oh,
now I still watched it on occasion.
By the way, Porygon got the bad rep for that. That was Pikachu's fault. Continue.
But, the thing is, I didn't grow up, like, I grew up with a Game Boy, but I did not grow up playing the games because my parents thought it was linked to the anime, which they didn't want me watching that. And then the card game never really interested me, so I did not grow up with Pokemon. I have affection for it because I think it is extremely influential. It's a relatively wholesome game, and just a wholesome property as a whole. Like the card game is wholesome, anime is pretty wholesome, the game itself is pretty wholesome. Like it's a fun, good game. So I don't have anything against it, but with that said, I think it's important to understand I did not grow up with it like a lot of people in my generation.
Oh, no, that's perfectly fine. You don't have to be like a super mega fan, but you know enough about it to not hate it.
Yes.
Right?
No, I don't have any animosity.
You just can't. But here's the dilemma with Scarlet and Violet, right?
Mm-hmm.
So Scarlet and Violet had to compete with other titles on the Switch. And they were coming up off of one of the better Pokemon titles being Pokemon Legends Arceus.
Oh
right?
My gosh.
That game, I didn't want to play it because I thought that the graphics looked a little poopy. and the world
Really?
felt like looked empty from the trailers and some of the gameplay that I saw. And then I finally sat down and actually recently played through it. Amazing game, by the way. Fantastic. I'm glad I was wrong. Game was great.
That's what I've heard.
Scarlet and Violet, on the other hand, the game's story and what goes on in it, pretty good. It's a Pokemon game. If you know, you know. If you play Pokemon games, you know, you start at home. Turns out you got to go to school or you got to go on a journey, and you know there's the Pokemon professor of that region who comes in. And he's like, hey, by the way, you're gonna do this. Here's some free Pokemon. Pick between one of the 3 starters. Now you're going on a journey. Here's your rival. Blah blah blah. Right. Perfectly fine. It's great. Love the characters, character design. The Pokemon designs in Scarlet and Violet, fantastic. Here's where I draw the line. The game didn't work. The amount of bugs and glitches that made the game so unplayable for months on end, right, was completely unexcusable. Right? And here's my biggest gripe with it. This isn't an indie developer.
Right.
This wasn't an issue of engine compatibility issues because of an update or a bad update going out.
Well, dang,
right?
it better not be, considering it's their engine and their system. Like,
like it's not like it was a new. It's not like it was a new engine or a new Pokemon game. I'm sorry, not a new Pokemon game, a new platform. Right?
listen, no one has accused Nintendo of being perfect. Okay, I just want to make that. I like Nintendo, but I think they drop the ball sometimes. So, with that said,
no, absolutely,
go for it.
But keep in mind, I'm a Zelda fan. I haven't liked a Zelda game for quite a while, right? But when it comes to dropping a Pokemon game, one of the arguably most influential cultural anythings to have ever existed, like the IP transcends Coca-Cola. That is a big deal. That is a very big deal, right? Like when your IP is almost as, or if not more, influential than McDonald's, that's kind of a big deal.
Dang.
Pokemon as a company has a better like revenue stream than like 90% of countries on the planet. That is ridiculous. That's ridiculous.
Yeah. So just sorry to interrupt and interject. I had to do a little snip there. I don't know what happened, but like 2 of the games that we had listed on here just dropped off the site. So I'm looking at you, tier list maker. But anyway, we got them on there, and we'll continue now. So sorry about that.
Yeah, but you know, Pokemon is just kind of like it's a franchise that you expect to work out of the box. It's Pokemon.
No, definitely.
It is the definition of what it means to be a big company game
now
with all the resources that Nintendo has, and the game did not work.
Here's the thing. I will contest that to some extent, because let's put it this way. Games are not simple like they used to be, especially when they're coming from big box studios. So I will cut them the smallest bit of slack in the regard that it's not like how it used to be, where if a cartridge had an error or some bug on it, it was just there forever. Nowadays, you can patch it. So with that said, if they patched it, that would be one thing. Question to you, did they patch it?
Oh yeah. Yeah, no, they were like, I'm pretty sure there were like 4 or 5 updates day one.
Oh wow, that's
they had zero excuse. Like, I cannot explain to you the amount of budget that they had in order to make this game, the amount of time that they've had. The release was so bad, it went so poorly. Granted, I did not personally experience any glitches. I will give it the caveat, I did not personally experience any glitches.
Okay.
Right. But I did have some performance issues, but that's also because it's a Switch. Yeah, like the Switch is just not an optimal system.
No, and I mean, hopefully this year, I know everybody keeps talking about it. I saw the rounds or people talking about Switch 2.
Oh, the Switch 2?
Yeah, I don't know if that's going to actually be a thing or not. I'm kind of hoping that Nintendo just says, let's look at a different console. You know, I don't mind them, you know, releasing like the Switch with, you know, performance upgrades and stuff, kind of like what they did with the 3DS, it was like, what is it, the 3DS Ultra or whatever?
The Super.
The Super. So like, you know, with all that, like, I don't mind them doing that stuff, but at the same token, if that is their reasoning to launch a new console, I think they're doing it for the wrong reasons. The Switch is good, don't get me wrong. As a console handheld goes, nothing even comes close, you know, to Nintendo's performance. But that being said, I really hope they release something different and unique.
Okay, when you say console, do you mean strictly like console, like handheld console, or do you
handheld,
are you also
specifically handheld? Because obviously,
because there's also things like the Steam Deck and the ROG Ally and stuff like that. Like
nobody's
those
buying the Steam Deck. Nobody's buying the Steam Deck.
No, a lot of people bought the Steam Deck.
Listen, okay, it's probably okay for what it does, but it's not the Switch. Like it's just not. They're trying to be the Switch. They're just not the Switch.
They're way better. I play Switch games on the Steam Deck.
With that said, you know, especially when it comes to the big, you know, developers like PlayStation and Microsoft for Xbox, they've tried. I think both of them have tried. What did Xbox have? They had something, didn't they?
They've never had a handheld.
They've never had a handheld. That's crazy.
No, they didn't even try. No, and the PlayStation outsold most Nintendo stuff for a while.
Oh, of course, because it's obviously like
in Japan.
The performance stuff is going to like, because people want to go home and play a game, but for the handheld stuff, no one has ever beat Nintendo at their own game. Like the Game Boy is always the king, and then it was the DS, and then it was we're not talking about the Wii U. Okay, we don't talk about that one.
The PSP did a really good job. Because you have to remember it's only recently with the Switch that JRPGs, like mainline JRPGs, were on a non-PlayStation console.
Yeah.
Like you have to remember, for the longest time, Nintendo's inventory was exclusively kids games.
Well, see, that's the thing, is I feel like until recently, that's part of what Nintendo, like they shot themselves in the foot when it comes to that, right? Because like they could have said, hey, we're going to open up to non-Nintendo games, but they didn't do that for many years. But that was on all consoles. Like when it came to like even the Wii, they had some quote unquote non-Nintendo games, but they were still like remarketed and rebranded as Nintendo. They still had to get their stamp of approval in the same way that like, I mean, it's not nearly as bad when it comes to like PlayStation or Xbox. We'll just put it that way. Like, yes, there's definitely some stuff you can't get on any of these systems, obviously, which is why, you know, PC Master Race, but that's aside from the from the fact that indie games were basically completely off the market for Nintendo until very recently, I think has hampered some of their ability to sell.
I remember back in the day, PlayStation used to champion indie titles.
That's what I'm saying. Like they had PlayStation and then Xbox. They got into some of the smaller games. I wouldn't necessarily call some of them indie, but like the whole, you know, you have an Xbox, you have Uno. Like,
Xbox back in the day, because I know you say you didn't really, you weren't really an Xbox guy, but we had this thing called the Xbox Arcade, and the Xbox Arcade was a digital marketplace on the 360 that was almost only indie games.
And that's what I'm saying. Like, you've had access to them for the other two of the three main like console of the console wars, and then Nintendo's sitting in their corner playing Pokemon saying, no, we don't need indie titles. And it's like, actually, you would do really well. And now the Switch is known for indie stuff. So anyway, we got way off topic there, but you were talking about going back into Pokemon.
Pokemon performance, terrible, completely unplayable for a lot of people for some reason. There were some game-breaking glitches. Players were falling out of the map, and NPCs were getting the heads of other models.
That's weird.
Like, it was so bad. Like, you could be... One of the things that you could unlock in the game was the ability of flight.
That sounds pretty cool.
Oh, no. The exploration's fun. Like, the game... If the game works, it'd be great. So, right, like granted, a lot of those updates, a lot of that stuff is gone, but the game overall, fantastic. But only because that's what you would expect from a Pokemon game. If you're going like apples to apples and comparing like across Pokemon games, I love Scarlet and Violet for its for like its Pokemon designs. I love the characters. I want to love the game so bad. But of all the Pokemon games, between what you can do in it and what goes on it, stuff like that, I'd maybe give it a C.
So
it is absolutely mid-tier, closer to like D and F tier for me, and in terms of Pokemon games, despite the fact that it has some of my favorite Pokemon.
So with that said, what are you thinking? Overhyped?
You know what? I think refund tier.
Really?
Because you have to remember, Pokemon's the kind of game where people will buy a Switch just to play the new Pokemon title.
Yeah, you're not wrong.
Consistently speaking, Pokemon titles are what drive the sales of consoles.
Yeah.
Like every single time that a new handheld comes out. Because keep in mind, Pokemon, with the exception of like 3 games before the Switch, were not on mainline Nintendo consoles. Pokemon was exclusively a handheld phenomenon.
Right. Yeah, and
like the only ones that you would get for consoles were like Pokemon Stadium, Coliseum on the Nintendo 64, and on the GameCube you had like XD Gale of Darkness. But like other than that, it was always on the Game Boy.
Yeah, and
the DS every time.
You definitely have a point there, because like there are 3 games that I think of personally when it comes to what someone buys a Switch to play, and that is Pokemon, Legend of Zelda, or Mario Kart. Like,
because that's the case for every Nintendo console. Those are the only 3 IPs that Nintendo has that religiously bring back people.
They do,
because that's the nostalgia trap. It's Zelda, it's Mario, it's Pokemon. That's it.
I don't know about nostalgia trap necessarily, because I mean, yes, that is a component of it, but I think these games stand on their own regard. And I know we're going to talk about Zelda here in a minute, so let's not get too far ahead of ourselves, but no, definitely, like, I think they stand on their own. And if you're saying that this game is like unplayably bad, definitely I would put that in the refund category, because Nintendo has had what, like 50 years to figure out how to release a game correctly, and apparently they can't do that. I don't know.
Yeah. That was completely unexcusable. Like, is this a game that I would recommend to someone today? I would tell them to get Arceus instead. If they were really into the Pokemon and the gameplay of what Scarlet and Violet has to offer, then yeah, you could argue that the game it's decent, but I wouldn't pay full price for it at all.
Okay. All right. Well, I guess.
Like, and there's other Switch games that are better too. Like you have the Diamond Pearl games that got re-released on the Switch. Fantastic. You had what was the other one? You have Pokemon Unite, which is kind of like their version of League of Legends. That's a fun game. That's on the Switch, and that's free.
So while we're on the topic of Switch games, the next game I want to talk about is Animal Crossing New Horizons.
God tier.
So here's the thing. I did not play all of the Animal Crossing games. In fact, my sister is an Animal Crossing nut. She's probably playing it right now as I speak, actually, because I swear her and my mom are on this game probably a solid like 5 hours a day. Not even gonna joke. That's like probably the amount of time they play minimum. It is ridiculously addicting, and I can understand why. I know Animal Crossing. Like, I played the original game on the GameCube. I still have it, and I actually fired it up recently. And when I say recently, it was probably a year and a half ago, but in the grand scheme of things, the game that came out in 2001, that's pretty recent. That said, I think Animal Crossing has really evolved a lot, because I personally have not played Animal Crossing, but I've seen enough of the gameplay that I think I can point to it with some objective truth and say this is how the game is, because like I said, 5 hours a day, and I get to see it all the time. So yeah, I honestly think Animal Crossing is a really interesting title, mainly because they managed to keep releasing these games and somehow they stay good. Like, I don't think I can think of an Animal Crossing game that hasn't been at least fun.
Pocket Camp.
I haven't played that one, so I mean I can't say it specifically.
It was a mobile game.
Oh, that one. Yeah, my sister was talking about that. I mean, I'm talking main console releases, not you know, the mobile game or the side stuff that they release, because like, yeah, some of that stuff will fall flat, but like for the things that they released for the Nintendo consoles, I can't think of one that was outright bad. I can think of some that like maybe weren't as great. If you've ever seen Jello Apocalypse and some of the stuff he does, you know, he made the joke is like, you know, next time we're gonna do it was Animal Crossing Mario Party, and you're gonna need an amiibo to play it. It's like that they definitely went that route for a little while. I feel like it's not as bad these days. New Horizons definitely is. It's a good game. I will give it that. That said, I think it is not. Let's put it this way. I'm gonna say it's overhyped, but not the overhyped category. I think it is a good game that probably belongs in the great category. I would not put it in God tier, mainly for the fact that it gets a little repetitive over time, and a lot of it you return to come back and like, oh, we got to do the things for today. It's like basically, again, like Jello Apocalypse had mentioned at one point, it's basically chores. You end up doing these chores daily, and the point of the game is to try to get you to be in this world as much as you can be and play it as long as you can. And I feel like it's a little malicious in that, where, you know, I wish it just kind of was like, we're here if you want to jump in and play for a little while, instead of being like, oh, you know, I got to do this thing. You know what my sister did? And this is where I'm like, okay, this is crazy. New Year's Eve, she says, I am going to go set the screen recording on Animal Crossing for the ball drop so I can watch what happens in Animal Crossing. And I'm thinking, why do you care?
Oh, I have, in her defense, right? So here's why the game feels like that, right? The game goes based off of real-time stuff.
That's the thing, right?
It's meant to be, it's not that you're supposed to be playing it religiously, right?
But it doesn't discourage it. It certainly encourages you to do so.
Well, I mean, yes and no. So here's the thing about Animal Crossing, right? Because I hear this kind of at this point from a lot of people who don't really play Animal Crossing games. Animal Crossing is a life sim game.
Mm-hmm.
There's a lot of life sim games that are out there. The one that makes this different is that Animal Crossing, unlike most other games, Animal Crossing is meant for kids. Kids don't have responsibilities.
Yes.
You have to remember, kids have a lot of time on their hands, and a lot of kids, especially the ones that bought Animal Crossing, especially when I was little, right, kids weren't rich. You know what I mean? Like kids, especially today, a lot of kids they can just get games, right? But I know there's a lot, back in the day, there were a lot of parents, you know, back when gaming wasn't as much of a big deal as it is now, they would only get their kids maybe a game or two a year, right? So what's the best way to continuously have your child, you know, feel like they're playing a game without it being the exact same game every single time? Animal Crossing, right? Because with Animal Crossing, you know, people can come and visit. You get different villagers. You can change things up. You can decorate things. And on top of that, the game mimics things like the weather and seasons, and characters have different preferences and flavors, things they do like, things they don't like, stuff like that. And it actually gives your children very, very valuable life skills in terms of how to socialize with people for kids who don't necessarily have that benefit because they're shy.
Okay, right? I can see where you're going with that, but at the same token, a game that encourages you to spend the majority of your time in this game, especially when you're targeting children, is especially malicious. Because I get what you're saying, right? Like trying to give them that environment, that escape to be able to go and do something, you know, mind productive. But at the same token, if you're creating a game that is literally meant to draw children in and basically like psychologically entrap them, that's extremely concerning.
That's not what Animal Crossing is. That's not its goal.
I know it's not its goal, but it certainly has that ability to do that.
Yeah, but you can make that argument for almost anything. You can make that argument for anything that's got pretty colors, right? I can see where your concern is, but again, Animal Crossing is meant for the kid, where this is the only game that they will play for a long time, right? And again, it doesn't actively encourage you to play the game each and every single individual day. That's just people who have obsessive personalities already, right? Like I can tell you, like, even between my wife and I, right, we both have addictive personalities, and we didn't have that problem with Animal Crossing. Listen, we'll play it whenever we get the opportunity, and then we'll stop playing it for a little while. We'll come back, we'll clean up the, we'll kill the roaches, we'll pick up the trash, and then we're back on it for like a week or two, and then we stop.
I'm not saying it's a bad game. I'm not giving that gripe. It is a good game. It's not God tier. I think it's no. I agree with you. No, I wholeheartedly agree with you. I said God tier is a joke. I think my sister might smother me with a pillow in my sleep if I don't put it in the great tier, and I honestly think that's where it belongs.
No, I'd put it high good tier. I wouldn't put it in great tier.
Really?
Yeah, as far as Animal Crossing games go, it's pretty standard. It doesn't really do anything like super incredible. If anything, I actually don't really like the story of what's happening with Horizon, because I don't like the idea of it. Of essentially them being like marooned. The whole point of Animal Crossing, and the reason why all the other games were so good, was because you were coming in from another town and you were moving to this town to get your quote unquote new start, right? Like you were on a bus, you were moving to this new town, you just got a new job there, that kind of thing, right? Like it felt a lot more personal in the previous games. This one just kind of feels like, hey, let's go on a tropical island getaway, but there's nothing tropical or magical or getaway about it. It feels more like Castaways, but without the benefit of playing like virtual villagers or, The Sims Castaway or something like that, or like Ark. It doesn't have that same flair as, say, like New Leaf or the original Animal Crossing game, or what was the other one? City Folk. You know what I mean? It doesn't have that same flair, doesn't have that same finesse that the previous games did.
Let's do this and we'll split the difference. I'll put it at the lowest of the great tier, because I think that's honestly where it belongs.
I'll be satisfied,
mainly because it's still a very colorful game. There is a lot of personality about it. It may not be quite the same as some of the other titles, but I feel like they've achieved a level of playability that, like you mentioned, when it comes to people who have somewhat obsessive personalities, they will get latched onto this one. I've seen my sister play every other Animal Crossing game. I've never seen her click with one quite as much as she does this one. So, I have to say they must be doing something right if that's where they're, if that's how it ended up. So I'm gonna drop that.
Young women in general like Animal Crossing. They just like cute things. And they did a really good job making just a nice, cute, wholesome game.
Yeah, and
the target demographic is for 9-year-olds.
They had a goal and they achieved it. I think that warrants a good game, or in this case, a great game. It did what it would set out to do, and I'm satisfied with that.
Yeah.
So, what are we looking at next?
See, I just went negative, so let's go positive. Let's do Psychonauts 2.
Psychonauts, okay.
Psychonauts. Yeah. So for those of you guys who don't know, Psychonauts is the kind of game that it's a fun 3D platformer with a really good story. The character designs are not meant to be like pretty. It's meant to be quirky and abstract and fun and just kind of silly. It's got really, really good voice actors in it. Like, for example, Raz, the main character, he's voiced by Richard Horvitz, which is the voice actor for Invader Zim.
Oh gosh.
He also is in was it Hell of a Boss?
You're forgetting the big one, Billy from Billy and Mandy.
he is Billy from Billy and Mandy, yes. So big voice actors are in it, but also the gameplay is really, really fun. The game is essentially about this kid who lives in a world where there are psychic powers, right? And not everyone has psychic powers, but there are a few people that do. First game was essentially about him going to essentially a summer camp for kids with psychic abilities and stuff like that, and they want to work for essentially their version of the CIA to do like psycho. I think it's like psychic operations or something like that. Not psyops, but different thing altogether. But like the men who stare at goats kind of thing, where like they're like bending spoons and like stuff like that. But the cool thing about this game is that the way it works and the way that the levels work is that they have the ability to astrally project into other people's consciousness. They go into their psyches. So when you as the player, you get teleported into someone else's brain, and based off of that character's culture or what's going on with them, you know, something is wrong with them, and you're essentially going in and you're fixing them or helping them deal with like things like trauma and all that other stuff. It's actually really, really good. It's really, really healthy. I love the core message of it, but it does it in a way that's kind of hyper violent and stupid, and it's great. Like, it's goofy. Like, it doesn't pretend to be anything that it's not, right? Like in the first game, there's a character named Dogen. He's just this little kid, but he wears a tinfoil hat, not because he's a conspiracy theorist, but the tinfoil hat keeps all the brainwaves in and prevents them from going out, because whenever he's not wearing his hat, he has a tendency to accidentally explode squirrels.
Oh.
It's so funny. And the social commentary in the game is hilarious.
Pack your bags, Morty. You mess with squirrels. We can only do this 1 or 2 more times.
Yeah, never mess with the squirrels. But the game is great. Now, Psychonauts 1 came out, oh man, I want to say, let me just look it up really quick. So Psychonauts 1 originally came out, wow, it's got a 10 out of 10 on Steam. Damn.
That's pretty good.
Yeah, it's a Double Fine game. So it looks like it came out, because this came out on the original Xbox, by the way. This was a PS2 OG Xbox, 2005. It came out in 2005. We heard nothing about it other than the fact that it left on a massive cliffhanger, and we thought we were going to get a Psychonauts 2, and we didn't really hear anything about Psychonauts 2 for a while.
Almost 2 decades.
So Psychonauts 2 was announced, but not as a core production. It had a Kickstarter campaign.
Wow.
It was entirely crowdfunded because Double Fine, or not Double Fine, but so Double Fine didn't want to drop it, but they couldn't afford it. I'll say that.
What happens?
Yeah, they really wanted to, because everyone loved Psychonauts, right? But they just couldn't afford to make it. So what they did was they told the dev team, and to my knowledge, the dev team's like, you know, Kickstarter's a big deal these days. Let's try that. They started Kickstarter. So much support, dude. I think my name is in the credits, actually.
Oh, nice.
Not saying who. I'm not saying which Alex in the credits I am, but I believe I am in the credits because I did.
Everybody go play the game and go look for Alex and dox him. No, I'm kidding. Don't do that.
but
be like,
on the way to making Psychonauts 2, honestly, on the way to making Psychonauts 2, they gave us a VR game, actually, that I think you should play. If you ever get around to playing the first Psychonauts, that actually serves as a sequel to Psychonauts 1, but a prequel to Psychonauts 2. It's what happens in between. Because at the very, very end, it essentially addresses the cliffhanger of the first game, where the main character's love interest, her dad is actually the head of the secret organization, and he got kidnapped and his brain's missing. Like his literal whole brain, the physical brain, gone. Right? So it's hilarious. It's a really, really funny game. Anyway, so that one's called The Rhombus of Ruin, which is a fantastic VR game. It's a really good, fun, clever puzzle game. But Psychonauts 2 made me cry, genuinely. And I'm not typically one to get emotional when it comes to just having a fun time, but Psychonauts 2 hit during COVID, or at least in that era. It was in 2021, and I remember when it first came out that I sat down. It just hit me in the middle of a level, right? That I have not felt like sitting down with a controller playing a multiplayer game. I was not a multiplayer game, like a story-based game with a controller, and sit down, just relax and tune out all of the noise. I haven't sat down like that since I was a child. And it hit me of how wonderful of a feeling it was to just get lost in this game and just think of literally nothing. Like nothing else crossed my mind. I had homework due. I had work, like regular work that I gotta do. I had a whole bunch of stuff going on with me. right? And I just sat down, and it just, all of the stuff that troubled me just disappeared, just gone.
Big nostalgia.
And it was
there.
one of the
big nostalgia there. Just the ability to kind of turn stuff off, like, because like you mentioned, when you're a kid, especially, you know, and I'm not gonna say that, you know, no kid has problems, but like when you're a kid, you're not thinking about like, ah, crap, you know, the economy's going sideways, or, you know, did I pay my bills on time, or, you know, I got you know, girlfriend troubles, or anything like that. Like, you don't have any of that when you're a kid. All you have to worry about is like, did I do my homework on time, and when is the next game coming out? Like, you don't think about the long-term stuff that's always on your mind, you know, these days. And like you said, that's not something you can find often anymore.
No, and what hits me the most, right, is that there wasn't a point in time where I was like anything less than absolutely enthralled and enthused to play this game, right? Like, I remember there was a point where like my wife is just kind of like looking at me, because my wife is weird and she has a staring problem, I guess. But like there's a point in time where I'm sitting down and I'm playing the game, right? Because I have my computer, you know, plugged in via HDMI to my TV, and I'm playing on the couch, right? Because I'm not gonna play a game like that tied to my computer. Absolutely not. I'm gonna relax on the couch. I'm gonna have a snack. I'm gonna have a good time. But there was a point in time where like I had to blink, which hurt. But like, you know, I went to kind of like look towards my kitchen or whatever. My cat went over there, and I caught her staring at me, and I'm like, "Are you okay?" And she kind of like looked at me, and she's like, "You have not stopped smiling for 4 hours."
Gotta be a little sore in the cheeks there.
And like, I didn't realize that happened. Like, I didn't realize that you could just have like a really positive expression on your face for a prolonged period of time.
I didn't realize it
with
could
something
smile.
as like simple. Okay, we all got our problems. Shut up. but like,
that sounds really dark. I didn't know I could be happy this long.
Listen, Psychonauts is really near and dear to my heart, right? So granted, a lot of these games are, but you know, when it comes to Psychonauts, it just does this thing where it has this way of getting you to actually give a damn. Like, about what happens to the characters, what's going on in the story. And the thing is, it's not like the game's trying to make you cry. It's not trying to be like sentimental. The entire game is just kind of making fun of itself and how ridiculous the scenarios are, right? But it tackles really, really big issues. It's tackling things like psychological trauma. It's tackling things like murder. You know, I can't say the unalive word on YouTube, but like it tackles all of the darker parts of humanity, but in the funniest way. And not like in a South Park kind of way where it's vulgar, right? No, it's just naturally funny. Like, it's got really good comedic timing. There's points in time where the game is meant to be serious, and it's kind of serious, you know, but it's lighthearted. It's just fun. It's good. It's wholesome. The artwork and the visuals are fantastic. It's just good.
So with all that said, where would you place this game? Because I have never played the game. You're kind of making me want to go play it. I did not play the original, so...
Yeah, you have to play the original. It requires that context.
Okay, so with all that in mind, I will trust your judgment because you're clearly very passionate about this game. Where would you put this?
I would probably, and you might disagree with me here, and I might be spoiling the entire thing here, but if we're going to put all these, I would probably put Psychonauts 2 and Baldur's Gate both in great tier at the very, very, very top, and I would put Psychonauts just above Baldur's Gate.
All right, well, I'll drop them up here. And
yeah, if I was to put Baldur's Gate there, if I was going to put Baldur's Gate in great, you might have your own opinions, but
yeah,
that's where I'd put it.
We'll talk about that in a second, but all right, so that's Psychonauts 2. Yeah, definitely. It sounds like a really interesting plot, and I'll have to look into that at some point. With that, let's see, what should the next one be? You know what? I haven't picked a really negative one. Not that I have any particularly really negative ones here. Like, truth be told, when I picked the games here, I was looking at games that I have played and really enjoyed, because I could pick other games that, like, obviously there's games that flop, and most of the games that flop are either games that I just didn't care enough about to mention, like not to say that Far Cry is bad, but none of the games in there have ever made me be like, oh my gosh, this is my favorite game ever. That said, this game, I think, honestly, is a little overhyped for what it is. We're going to talk about Space Marine. I like Space Marine, okay? I like it for what it is. It is my first introduction into the world of Warhammer. I enjoy it. I think it's fun. I think it has some major issues. The biggest issue that I've run into, and it could be resolved because I ended up getting a new hard drive for my computer. Went to the M.2 style instead of a just standard solid state. I think it was running off like an actual hard drive, which is cloned off of another hard drive from another computer so that I could keep all my files. Long story short, it probably will run better now. I have not tested it yet. Even so, when I was loading levels on this thing, it took me a solid 15 to 20 minutes to load into a single level. That is unexcusable in any game. I don't care what game you're playing. Like, there have been some games like that my computer's not able to hardly run, and it'll take a while loading, and I'll set it down and go do something else for a few minutes while it's loading or whatever. That's fine. But for a game like Space Marine, where you're literally just it's not even open world. It's just a medium-sized map that you're loading into, and then you go kill some stuff, and then you leave. Why is it taking that long to load? It's probably some like shader textures or something. Like I couldn't even tell you, because it doesn't tell you when it's loading what it's doing. You just sit in the launch pod and are being transported with your crew, or I guess your squad, I should say, to wherever you're being dropped off, and then you go and do stuff, which is fine. It's actually kind of an interesting loading screen, but it doesn't tell you what it does. And I could be sitting there 20 minutes, and it's like, this thing's sucking up too much of my CPU, so I can't be rendering stuff. I can't be, building things in DaVinci or whatnot, because it's gonna crash. It's just a number of problems in there. So honestly, for the gameplay itself, it's not bad. I think the gameplay is pretty good. I wish it flowed a little bit better, because it is quite addictive once you're in the flow. And I do have to say, I'm not going to get on a political rant here, but one thing I think that games have been kind of sorely lacking, and you see this on a few different even titles within this, is I feel like games that are just masculine for masculine guys really have not taken precedence anywhere. Like, you don't have just like, hey, let's create a character that is oozing with, this, I'm gonna murder everything in my path. The only other game I could think of that even comes close is Doom. That is the closest thing that I can think of to Space Marine, and I think they nailed it. It's not, they didn't put anything in that was unnecessary. It felt very accurate to the lore. And I know, talking with Iron the last episode, and probably more in the next episode, or when we finally discuss Warhammer, I should say, is going to have a lot of things to say about it. But I have to say, while it definitely intrigues me, it does not pull me into the world of Warhammer the way that I think it could. That said, the combat is not bad. Like I said, once you get into the flow, it's pretty half decent. And yet I feel a little underwhelmed. Now, I haven't played multiplayer yet because my connection has been absolute garbage. In fact, I've been kicked multiple times from the server for connection issues. So I don't know if that's my internet problem or maybe their server's problem. Whatever the case is, haven't even been able to attempt that yet. So hard to really place heavy judgment on it. Personally, I think the game belongs in the overhyped category. It's not bad. I would not refund it, but it's a little overhyped.
Okay. It depends. I think this one depends on who you are. Because I feel like if you've never really played a game like Gears of War, for example, it's a good game. I think it's a really good game. But if you're used to games like that, or if that's just not the kind of game that you're interested in, then yeah, I feel like it's going to be a little overhyped. But for a lot of people, Space Marine, because I played the original one, Space Marine is a lot of people's first introduction into the Warhammer franchise. Right?
Understandably.
And because it's easy, it's just it's not meant to be super thought provoking or super intense on the brain in terms of like how to get into it. Like it's not like you're buying a whole bunch of figs and then creating an army and then, you know, doing the tabletop thing, right? Or it's not like you're playing a like Mechanicus, for example, or, you know, or like you're because recently because I also play a lot of Magic the Gathering because, you know, nerdiness.
Yeah.
Magic the Gathering does this series called Universes Beyond, which is essentially like collab events. Like they've done Transformers, Fallout, Warhammer. They recently did a secret layer for Hatsune Miku for Marvel. They've done Jurassic Park, you name it, they've done it. Doctor Who and Assassin's Creed came out recently, stuff like that. Magic the Gathering, not easy for the average person, nor is it fun for the average person, right?
Mm-hmm.
But Space Marine, and what was the other one? Not Rogue Trader, but the other one that came out, Darktide. Those two games are really, really easy for the average person to get into with their friends. Up until those two, the only other Warhammer title that was good and fit for human consumption, in my opinion, was Vermintide 2, and that's not mainline Warhammer. That's a side what if, right? In mainline Warhammer stuff, you have the grim dark future. In Vermintide, you've got Inquisitors and Pilgrims fighting giant rats and goblins. Not the same at all, right?
Yeah.
So as far as Warhammer games go, I think it's great. As far as for new players, I think it's good. As far as for Warhammer fans who, you know, played it, I think it's overhyped. I'd probably put it in low good.
Yeah, I can split the difference with you. It's not a bad game by any stretch of the imagination. I can think of a lot of other games I'd much rather refund or say are worse games. It's a little overhyped for what it is, but it's not a bad game. So, with that, I actually had a thought because we're already an hour and a half into this. Trying to get us sped along. What do you think about a speed round? Just pitch it as quick as you can.
Yeah. Yep, absolutely. We can do that.
Okay. All right. So it is your turn, good sir. You pick the next game.
All right. Cold War, overhyped, absolute dog water. Campaign was fun. Completely overhyped. Never buying another Call of Duty game again. I don't care how good you make the zombies, how good you make the campaign. I'm not spending $60 for the same game because it's just going to be Warzone guns anyway. Your turn.
Yeah, I have nothing to say. I stopped playing Call of Duty after Ghost. Ghost turned me completely off from Call of Duty. I have nothing to say other than it's the same game regurgitated repeatedly. And the only thing that you're going to get are slightly different mechanics, maybe, possibly.
Hold on. Wait a minute.
And reskins.
But the dog.
Stop.
But we like Riley. Riley was such a good dog. We know where this belongs.
Along with every other Call of Duty. Okay. There are some good Call of Duty games. Okay, like honestly,
World at
Zombies,
War, absolute banger. Black Ops 1 and 2, absolute bangers.
Any of the original Zombies games, yes, I'm with you. Even all the way through Modern Warfare 3. Like Modern Warfare 3 wasn't the greatest, but it certainly wasn't.
Oh yeah,
bad.
but 1 and 2, fantastic.
Yeah, well, Modern Warfare 3, it was just okay. Like it wasn't awful, but then Ghost lost me. Like I was like, no, this is not the same
what lost me
game.
was Advanced Warfare. That's what lost me.
Well, the thing is, I got Ghost. Like I didn't even think because my interest was already waning with 3. Then they did Ghost, and I was like, I'm done.
We're doing the thing. We both got ADD. Let's go.
Oh, you're right. Okay. My turn. Hogwarts. It's Harry Potter, but it's not. It's like 100 years before Harry Potter. It's a pretty cool game. Honestly, like it's fun. I've had a lot of problems trying to run the thing, mainly because it's such a massive game. But honestly, really, really cool. I would personally put it in great. What do you think?
I agree. Great tier, but just because I know it pisses people off.
That you're saying that just because it makes people angry.
Yep. No, not adding anything to it. Like, it's a great game on its own merit, but also it pisses people off. So I agree.
Yeah, it's a good one. So, all right, what are we looking at? Save your the last game. We'll go in depth and really talk about that. So make sure you pick a good one.
All right, cool. Overwatch 2. Throw it in refund.
Ooh.
That's right.
I'm not even
free to play game.
That.
Refund it.
I'm not even gonna argue with that. Team Fortress 2 better.
Yeah. So my only problem with
character.
Overwatch 2 is that it's not Overwatch 1, and why? It didn't need to happen if it was just going to be the exact same game. Like the one major change that they made between Overwatch 1 and Overwatch 2 was taking away one player essentially and making it from a 6v6 to a 5v5. Guess what? They just added that 6 player back. That's right. It's Overwatch 1 again, but with new skins, and Bastion's not good anymore. Sorry, continue.
Okay.
I have opinions.
Ooh, that's a good question. You know what? Cyberpunk. Really dropped the ball on the launch. They have since really fixed it. It's a lot of fun. I enjoy the story. I think it's a very in-depth and unique story. Like, there aren't a lot of games that are quite like Cyberpunk. That said, not technically a spoiler, but if you finish the last mission, you can't go back and replay anything. It's one of those games, and for that, to me, it's only good, but a high good. What do you think?
I think low grade tier because the anime was amazing.
Okay.
Also, the soundtrack is good and the mod support is fantastic.
Okay, you know what? You've convinced me. It goes in low tier grade. Now, I kid you not. 2 days ago, I finished the Cyberpunk Edge Runners, and it was really
putting it in
good.
grade tier solely for Rebecca.
Yes. No spoilers on that. Love you, Becca. Also, it makes me very sad. The show is very sad.
I cannot listen to I Really Want to Stay at Your House without being like, ugh.
100%. I'm with you there. All right, your turn.
Final Fantasy 7 God tier.
Whoa. Okay. Any reason specifically?
Final Fantasy 7 is one of the most popular, most referenced, and most recognizable games of all time. Like, it is. Everyone knows Cloud. He's been in Smash Bros for a long time. Everyone knows the Sephiroth. Sephiroth. Like, everyone knows the boss battle themes, the whole 9. And on top of that, Final Fantasy has been one of the most piggybacked off like JRPGs to ever exist. And it all started with Final Fantasy 7. Final Fantasy 7 skyrocketed PlayStation into stardom because if it wasn't for Final Fantasy 7, PlayStation was failing. Final Fantasy 7 is what Halo is for Xbox, right?
Okay.
With that being said, the Final Fantasy VII remake is one of the most well done, if not one of the only well done, faithful remakes to ever happen, right? The entire game was completely remade bottom up with some of the most beautiful graphics that you could ever possibly have. It's like, I know a lot of people say that good graphics aren't everything, which I agree, but there's so many games that you can say that play like it feels like I'm playing a movie.
Yeah.
But also the combat is amazing. It's fluid, and the best part is you can adjust the combat based off of what you want, right? Which I think is really fantastic. And Final Fantasy VII really does that. Final Fantasy VII also, keep in mind, for a long time, Final Fantasy VII is not even my favorite Final Fantasy game.
Wow.
Like by a mile. But it made me really fall in love with Final Fantasy VII's world.
That's awesome.
Like that never happened. That it's amazing. It's great.
I have to, and that was actually going to be my question, was like, because you mentioned that the original game was amazing, and it's like that's great, but how's the remake? And then you answered that. So
the entirety of the remake takes place only on the first disc.
That's cool.
They're coming out with more. The second part. So the way that it works for those of you guys that are interested in Final Fantasy, right? If you're a PlayStation gamer, it's already there. But if you're a PC gamer, they're doing this thing where Sony has it as a PS exclusive for the first year, and then they're bringing it to PC. So the second part to Final Fantasy VII just came out recently it's coming out on PC soon. So if you're interested in it, you really want to, go play the first one, grab it. It's on Steam, it's on Epic, then go play the second one. It's fantastic. You won't regret it, even if you've never touched a Final Fantasy game at all. This is easily my top recommendation for anyone who's never touched a Final Fantasy game but can, play it graphically.
Nice. Well said. Okay, I'm gonna do it because I've already talked about it. Indiana Jones and the Great Circle. Alex, you actually told me on this one, like, no one's played it, no one wants to. I disagree. I think it's actually pretty good. With that said, the performance issues really throw a wrench into it for me. Because guess what? It's been like, a month and a half since I reviewed the game. They still haven't fixed most of those problems. The worst that I've recovered, and I will say I fixed the frame rate problem. Like, it was really bad. Nowadays, the only thing that I run into performance wise is when I go into a new area, it takes like 30 seconds to load, where it drops to 1 frame. I'm running off an M.2. Why is it taking this long to load a new area? This is an open world game. Why is it loading new areas instead of just rendering them as I'm entering them? Or why is it not pre-rendering them? Maybe put a little more strain on the M.2. I don't know. Whatever it is, it's weird, it's dumb. The game itself is really good. That said, I think it's a low good category.
So here's my thing, right? And I agree with you. Good category is perfect.
Okay.
My thing, just to clarify, early, it's not that I think that no one wants to play Indiana Jones, and it's not. Indiana Jones, in my opinion, is just a dying IP, just in general.
100%.
And also, for the game specifically, because it's an almost dead IP, it's not that no one wants to play it, it's that the only people who would want to play it are people who are already fans of Indiana Jones, which there are not many in the grand scheme of things, right? So, like, I feel like if it wasn't for the fact that you're an Indiana Jones fan, or like, you're not like almost exclusively like a PlayStation gamer, most people have never even heard of this game. There wasn't any hyper marketing around it, like, at all.
I disagree with that. I heard about it in quite a few different places. If you listen to podcasts, you probably heard about it. If you watched YouTube without an ad blocker, you probably saw stuff. This game was everywhere. It was very much in my face all the time. And when it finally got close enough to launch, they like doubled down on it. And it was just, I mean, I must have heard it at least a dozen times a few days before launch. And I
didn't hear of it until you made that video.
That's crazy. Now, the thing is, I will say, because I understand what you're saying, it's a dying IP. It is. And that's partly because so is Harrison Ford. He is Indiana Jones, and he's getting old. He's really old. He probably shouldn't have made the Dial of Destiny or whatever.
Well, that's what I'm saying, is I didn't know it was the thing because Dial came out. Granted, I didn't watch Dial. I don't know anyone who did watch Dial.
Let's put it this way. I grew up with the franchise. I loved Indiana Jones, the first 3 movies. They were amazing. That's still some of my favorite movies of all time. That said, Kingdom of the Crystal Skull was just kind of okay, and I had zero interest to watch Dial of Destiny. When I heard
Crystal Skull, I'd probably say is bad.
Let's put it this way. For the nostalgia factor, I'll give him that much. It was also Cold War. I found that time period interesting. The whole nuke sequence in the beginning was pretty cool. But the concept was kind of dumb. And truthfully, he's just too old to make these movies anymore. I felt bad that they're dragging him out of retirement to make this stuff, and maybe he wants to do it. I don't know. Whatever the case is, the fact that he has zero involvement in this, other than I guess he was at like the press release and read a piece of paper, which sure, the old man can read a piece of paper, no problem there. I don't have a problem with that. And he is indie, like, fine for live action stuff, cool. But the fact is, they used a completely different person for this and allowed it to be that they are rebooting it with Indy still being Indy, but not Harrison Ford. And the fact that it's a voice actor doing it as opposed to a physical person, they can make him as old or as young as they want to. And I think they're already talking about a possible sequel to this game. I don't have a problem with that because the IP is cool. It's a really cool, unique idea. And I think if they continue to push on this, they'll continue to be successful. I just hope they don't continue dragging poor Harrison Ford out into the, into the public eye, because that guy needs to be on a beach somewhere. Like, just let him live with his money. Maybe maybe don't let him fly a plane. He's crashed a couple times. I don't know.
my thing is mainly just that there's already other games that are also just indie, like Tomb Raider.
But it's not the same.
Nathan Drake, Uncharted.
It's not the same legendary status that you get with indie. I mean, he was the first of the archaeology scene.
Oh, no. I agree. I explained that to my wife. My wife didn't watch an Indiana Jones movie until literally a few days ago.
Oh, that is tragic.
Because I sat her down and I had her watch Raiders with me.
That is a phenomenal movie.
Like, trust me, if there's anyone that recognizes how great Indiana Jones is as an IP and respects it, I'm there with you.
Yeah.
But my thing is, I just don't feel like it is going to be as popular as people... Like as indie fans want it to be. I feel like a lot of it is just, I think it's nostalgia goggles, honestly.
Probably to some extent.
Yeah, like, am I saying that the game itself is bad? No, I don't know almost anything about the game. Right?
Hey, if you guys want to go check out the video, I actually made a review of this, so I'll pop that up in the top right corner. Go watch it. You too, Alex.
I'm planning on it. But, other than the game, I'm just saying, like, popularity wise, I feel like, just based off of that, I'm not sure if it's going to be as popular, say, like Jedi Fallen Order, for example.
Yeah, I mean, that's understandable. And is that Fallen Order, is that the first one or the second one?
The first one with Cal Kestis. Yep.
Okay, well, they both feature him.
Yeah. The other one is Survivor.
So funny story on that one, quick tangent. I've tried to play that game. It kept crashing on me. I think I have since resolved the problem, but I haven't gone back and actually finished the first one. And I actually own the second one. I got it on a Steam deal for like $10. So I was like, sure, why not?
That single-handedly revived my appreciation for Star Wars, because I've always hated Star Wars.
Wow.
Always.
Okay. Yeah, we'll definitely have you on that episode then. So we'll make that happen. But anyway.
Oh, the Vader comics are good. I will say that the new Vader comics are fantastic.
Side tangent over. It is your turn. Let's take a look at another property. What are we looking at?
Tears of the Kingdom.
Here's the Kingdom. Zelda. All right.
Let's go Zelda. I am a longtime favorite. Like Zelda has always been one of my favorite franchises of all time. Overhyped.
Wow. Okay. I don't have a comeback for that or any comment because I haven't played the game. What makes you say it's overhyped?
It is just barely off the cusp of refund.
Ooh, that's rough. What did they do wrong with it?
It's what they're doing wrong with Zelda as a whole, right? And Tears of the Kingdom is like a prime example of it. Hypothetically, let's imagine a world where emulating is not a thing, right?
Okay.
Mainline Legend of Zelda has always been a sit down on a couch experience. Whereas handheld Zelda games have always been I don't care how the performance works because it's a 2D game anyway, right? Like even when some of the handheld games went 3D, don't really care, right?
Are you referring to the CDI Philips games?
I have no idea what you're referring to.
What? No, tell me you're joking.
No, it's a joke. I do. I don't want to talk about it. I hate them.
Okay, really quick. I actually love those games purely for the meme status. They're terrible games, but I love them because they're so uniquely bad. Anyway. Yeah.
Anyway, so well, excuse me, princess. Anyway, so the whole thing with Breath of the Wild and Tears of the Kingdom, right, is that, Nintendo's entering a completely new era of what a Zelda game is, right? And with Breath of the Wild, they did something that I did appreciate at first, right? Which was they took what was essentially what people kind of thought was kind of like a complex timeline. Okay. Of how the games are, because all the games are actually connected, right? Like there's an actual timeline in which the games take place. You're not playing the same Link with the same Zelda every time. That's not how it works, right? And they essentially took all those, called that the era. What was it? The era of myth, or the era of legend, or something like that.
Okay.
But essentially saying that all those games that you played before, those all happen, which is cool. We're just now it's all one timeline. It's one concise. All those things happened in the past. We're doing something new, which was fine. I actually really appreciated it, right? Because it's not like they were saying, "Oh no, this is something completely different," and none of those things happened, right? No, everything was still canon.
I can appreciate that, but at the same token, I feel like it's also respectable to say, "Hey, we're gonna make this a multiverse thing. Like in this timeline, this happened. This timeline, this happened. They're all legit.
No. There are 3 timelines. That was the problem.
Oh, so they merged them.
What they did was they said they merged it all into one, and Breath of the Wild is essentially a nexus point where they all converge because all those things happened so long ago that it's not relevant.
Okay, I mean, I guess I can see that as it's kind of figuring like where are we going from here. So I get you, but go on.
Right. It was meant to be a start of something new.
Right.
Which I can appreciate. Right now, the thing is, Breath of the Wild did this thing, right? And I know it's about Tears of the Kingdom, but they're kind of the same game in terms of, because it's in the same world. But Tears of the Kingdom is a direct sequel to Breath of the Wild. It's not like a completely new Zelda game. It's a direct sequel.
Right.
So in order to have one, you have to have the other, that kind of thing. The problem here, right? And this is a big deal. Big deal. Is they took all the things that people loved about the 3D games and threw it out the window.
Oh.
And then they're like, everyone really liked the first original Zelda game that we ever made way back, so we're gonna do that again.
Wow.
Yeah, like, don't get me wrong, the story is fantastic, right? The world, it's fun. It's fun to explore. It's an open world, which is kind of my problem. Right? We live in an era where almost everything is an open world game, and people don't do the good world building thing that you get with things like with things like D&D, where you start off small with one small little part of the world and then expand outwards as you make new things. No, they made the entire world and then they started to fill it. So a lot of the things in the world feel nebulous and unnecessary unless you go into really, really, really deep dives. But unless you're that kind of person, it's not fun because it just feels like a whole bunch of meaningless BS when I can just do the Skyrim thing and just walk that way for 5 seconds and now I'm done with the quest.
Yeah.
And the entire world just kind of feels like that, where the characters are memorable, the characters are cool, the music is fantastic. But when I think of a 3D Zelda game, I think I'm going to go on an adventure. I'm going to hit up a bunch of temples, solve a bunch of people's problems, get a bunch of items. In order for me to finish this dungeon, I have to find the item in the dungeon and then use that. And now that expands what I can do in the world.
Yeah, I can feel that. So I can understand why you'd put it in overhyped. Yeah, I mean, honestly, like, I haven't played Breath of the Wild either. I know that's one that people are like, oh, you really need to sit down and play that. But I don't technically have a Switch. My sister has a Switch. Sometimes I'll borrow it from her if I really want to play Mario Kart or something like that, or, Super Smash. But, like,
it's just not worth it, dude.
That's what I've heard. I've heard some people say, like...
Let me rephrase that. If you're not a Zelda fan, go for it, because you might actually like it, right? But for people who are longtime fans of the series, to me, it feels like an absolute slap in the face. Because it took everything I loved about Zelda games and just gone.
Oh, man. All right, well, I guess that's a good place for it then. All right, let's look at... I'll continue the lightning round for this one. Ghost of Tsushima. It's just really good. I have very little else to say about it. The world feels a tad bit empty, but... in general, it's just an amazing game. The combat is some of the most fluid I've ever seen in a game, and it is just phenomenal in every regard. Like, I have very few complaints about this, and they're all exceedingly minimal. So I think God tier, honestly.
I wouldn't say God tier. I wouldn't say God tier. I don't think it has the cultural relevance to be God tier. It's a great game. I don't think it's God tier though. Like, in order for something to be God tier, I feel like it has to transcend just the game itself.
All right, I'll knock it down to
I would say grade,
just below Psychonauts. What do you think? Would you actually put it before Psychonauts?
No, absolutely not. No, I would actually put it after Cyberpunk.
I disagree. Well,
Cyberpunk is a cultural phenomenon that you literally cannot ignore.
Yeah.
Actually, technically speaking, I'd probably put it after honestly, I'd probably put it at the bottom of grade.
No, I disagree with that. I think Ghost of Tsushima is probably one of the most replayable of these games. I accidentally triggered the DLC partway through the game, and I'm just on another island now. And all I can think of is like, gosh, I wonder what kind of awesome stuff I can get here and bring back to the mainland. Honestly, the DLC is kind of like a little mid, but at the same token,
that's what I'm saying. Like, I wouldn't.
The DLC is a little mid, but the game in general was really, really good.
Right, but that's what I'm saying though. Is I don't feel like it's as influential or as important to the community as.
What are you talking about?
The rest of the games.
It's the future of gaming. 2025 and beyond is woman hits things with sword. You haven't seen that?
Yes, I have seen that.
They're doing because that with like it was the first one to trigger sort of the samurai style gameplay again, and granted it came out a few years ago. I think it was 2021.
I mean, Sekiro Shadows Die Twice did that though.
I mean, yes, but not in the same style. Like it's not quite that open world, because now literally it's like a blow for blow like challenge when Assassin's Creed says, oh yeah, we're doing samurai now, even though they said they would never do that. They would never do feudal Japan, and now they're doing it.
No. I mean, I get that, but like Sekiro is open world. It's
yes,
like,
but it's a Souls game. That's the thing. It's
I mean,
different.
I guess that's fair, but there's a whole bunch of other games that you can kind of put it in that same vein. What I'm saying is I feel like if you were to take the timeline and cut out Ghost of Tsushima, nothing happens. Nothing changes.
No, I honestly think that we wouldn't be getting
Ghost of Tsushima is like a really good breath of fresh air, but that's kind of all it is.
That's the thing, though. It's unique in that I feel like it is the trigger for a lot of other games that are coming out. They haven't come out yet, but it's already started that chain reaction. Because again, they release a title. And one thing I do have to say I did not like about Ghost of Tsushima, and this is mainly just like a frustration, is the fact that they were a PlayStation exclusive for years, and then finally are like, oh yeah, we'll release it on PC.
Also, if we're talking about those, also another game that a lot of people tend to forget about is Neo. Neo was kind of that. It was essentially what Ghost of Tsushima was kind of like trying to be in terms of a like feudal Japan kind of samurai Ronin kind of game.
Yes, but at the same token, I think this one is, like I said, the catalyst for what's happening now. Because the other one, yeah, it might have been better, but it wasn't the catalyst for all these new games that are coming out. I mean, think about it. All the new games that are coming out in the next few years, well, not all of them, obviously, but like a large percentage of them are sort of going back to just, sword combat and stealth tactics. That's literally what this game built. Ghost of Tsushima feels like they played Assassin's Creed and said, you know what? I'm going to do that, but better.
You mean Dishonored?
No, I mean, like...
I'm just saying, it's more like Dishonored and Thief than it is Assassin's Creed.
I'm just talking about like the whole stealth tactics and, traveling around and doing all sorts of different quests, the open world stuff.
Yeah. No. Trust me, I get it. I just feel like, I don't know. It's okay.
You know what I recognize? Ghost of Tsushima is like the best of Assassin's Creed and Far Cry.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that's the thing is, if you like either of those properties, you're probably really gonna like this game. It appeals, like, I think it has like a 96% approval rating on Steam, which is extremely hard to do. Or was it 99? It might actually be 99%.
I don't know. I don't think it's that hard to do when people were looking forward to it coming to PC. You know what I mean? I feel like, granted, again, I'm not saying the game is bad by any means. I do think the game is great. I just don't think it's like as great as like Cyberpunk, for example.
Okay,
in terms of like what it is.
I was wrong. It's a 93%, but still, I mean, that's really good.
That's still
on
good.
Steam.
That's still good. But I don't know. I feel like it belongs to like next to Half-Life Alyx. I don't think it belongs to next to Cyberpunk. in terms of cultural relevance. Because again, cyberpunk is an entire genre.
I think you're putting too much.
Now.
I think you're putting too much weight on the cultural relevance. So like up here, yes, I agree. But like things here backwards, I would say it's just based on quality of the game.
Yeah, I guess.
So I'm gonna keep it where it's at, but we'll keep moving. Now, which Elden Ring do you want to do? Do you want to do Elden Ring or Elden Ring Chinese Monkey?
I don't want to exactly compare Wukong to Elden Ring, but I'll do Elden Ring.
All right. So tell me about Elden Ring. How you feel?
So I hate Souls games with a passion. The passion's so fierce. I just feel like it's lazy. I feel like the attitude of, oh, well, you're just not good. I don't really die that often in Souls games because, you know, I played Zelda games ever since I was a kid. That's really all the Souls games are, just roll, dodge, slap in the butt.
Zelda the original Souls game?
Yeah. Yes. Yes.
That's going to be the title of this episode.
Unironically, yes. But, you know, it just, I don't know. I just feel like Elden Ring performs and punches so much higher than any of the other Souls games, except for maybe Bloodborne. But Bloodborne's just...
Bloodborne's
PlayStation gamers will just take that W. They'll just take that W. That's fine. I get it. PlayStation, give me a PC Bloodborne. Give me. But like,
hey, ask hard enough. Like, it might happen. The fact that they literally had no plans to port over Ghost of Tsushima, and then it happened. So
true. But no, I think Elden Ring. I think great.
I think that's fair. I think a lot of people overhype Elden Ring.
Low grade.
Where would you slot it?
I think above Animal Crossing. No, I put it above Half-Life Alex, I think.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay, I can see these two together. That actually makes sense. So the thing is, like, and this is just a quick tangent, like we've talked about this. I know people personally who will put Elden Ring at like the top of God tier. And I'm like
those people have no personality whatsoever.
No. And that's the thing, like, where it's like, they're like, okay, Elden Ring is the greatest game ever made. No.
I will say a lot of those,
irrefutably,
a lot of those people are probably new gen gamers though.
Not really though. I think it's just people who really, really like Elden Ring, and it's like, okay, good for you. But to say it's the best game ever made, like I can name a dozen games right now that are better than Elden Ring. Just like objectively
any Zelda
better.
game made before Breath of the Wild. I feel so. Here's my thing about the Souls games, right? They cater to like one kind of person, and that's a person with monkey brain.
You're not wrong.
Like honestly, and then just the Souls games in general.
Monkey brain, right?
yeah. But like, I don't know. I feel like people. Here's my thing, right? You can love a game and acknowledge that it's trash, and vice versa.
Oh, absolutely.
Right? Like half the anime I love is absolutely terrible.
Sure.
Right. Just objectively, by almost every objective metric, I still enjoy it. You know what I mean? Everyone loves the Marvel movies, and they're slop.
Well, not everybody.
I apologize for nothing. The Marvel movies are dog water. Moving on. Wukong, I'd probably put also great tier, but I'd put it under Hogwarts Legacy.
Oh wow, you're just gonna do it right now. You're just gonna spit on me like that. So.
Oh, sorry. Continue. Go ahead.
Hogwarts Legacy. Sorry. There it goes. Boom. Okay.
Do you have do you have your own opinion on Elden Ring?
I really don't. So
there you go.
Here's the thing, right? Like, I'm with you. The Souls games, I do not like them. The point of I'm going to dedicate all my time to learn a game system that it suck terribly at, and will spend all that time to do what? Beat the game? Okay, so you're getting pissed off, frustrated, and I've seen people snap controllers in half playing things like Elden Ring and Dark Souls. I do not understand why you would subject yourself. Like, there's enough misery in life. Why would you do it in a video game? And I can understand the when people are like, but I like the challenge, and it's like, cool. There are other ways to do that.
I haven't found that challenge yet. And again,
dang,
I'm not saying.
Dang, you're like,
okay,
skill issue, everyone else.
I mean, okay, well, my problem is not even that it's not challenging. My problem is just, I'm not the kind of person, because I had this exact same problem with Destiny 1, right? I'm a story gamer.
Yes, 100%.
So because of that, and if you're trying to sell me on a world and a story, it better be pretty damn good. right?
Yeah.
Especially within the fantasy genre, right? And the darker and grittier, the better, right? But I just feel like Elden Ring and Dark Souls, just any Souls, anything except for maybe Sekiro, because Sekiro was a breath of fresh air in terms of like Souls games. All of the rest of the Souls games are all lore, no story.
Yeah.
You need to have both, or if you're only going to have one, give me story without the lore, it'll still work.
You know
right?
what game worked really well like that is Shadow of the Colossus.
Oh, absolutely. Probably one of the best games to ever be made. Period.
Wow.
Like,
yeah, you're probably not wrong. Yeah.
Dude, I still have 2 different versions of it for the PlayStation 2 in my game cases right now.
I genuinely aspire, like, in the gaming world. So for those of you who don't know, if you're just tuning in for the first time and 2 hours into this, I'm surprised you're still here, but hey, for those of you who don't know, Velvet Games is also a game making company. We're aspiring to make games because we love them. We're working on a few different ideas right now. Rise to Riches is one that's we're working on getting that out. Unfortunately, the Kickstarter didn't succeed, so we're gonna have to find other methods to get that out to everybody. We want to make sure that you have the absolute best experience playing it. If you like strategy card games, you're gonna love it. But we have other like story-driven stuff that we're looking at as well. And I truly aspire to the levels of storytelling that is a sort of show don't tell, right? The idea of being able to put some level of lore into a story that you can then glean ideas from it and sort of have an understanding of what's happening without being told what's happening. If you put text on a screen, it had better be extremely good at giving you the idea of what you need to learn or what it is you're supposed to be doing. If you've got text on a screen just to regurgitate stuff, like, you're not doing it right. And games like Shadow of the Colossus, I think, do a phenomenal job of sort of portraying or delivering some level of a story through context clues. The idea that it's like, you know, and this isn't Shadow of the Colossus specific, but like the idea of like a lost civilization or something that, you know, you're not going to have all these clues to, but as you start to piece the ideas together, you can then get a greater idea of what's happening. And maybe someday you'll actually get the full story. Games like that are so much more engaging than games with a linear story that's like, okay, you go here and do this thing. Okay, you go here and do this thing. Like all of the Call of Duty single player.
So for those of you who don't know what Shadow of the Colossus is, right, and why we're harping on it, think of it like Daft Punk. Daft Punk made one of the greatest songs to ever exist using only 3 words. And it's the same 3 words repeated throughout the duration of the song. And it's phenomenal. It's called Around the World.
No.
Yeah, no, not that one. It's called Around the World. It's literally just saying around the world repeatedly, right? It's like that, where Shadow of the Colossus made an entire, very deep, very lore-oriented world with no dialogue. The only talking in the entire game at all, right, is whenever your main character gets hurt or he's calling his horse, which is a 1 word, right? And there's essentially it's a bunch of bosses, but and no other NPCs, no other like world enemies or anything like that. Nothing, right? It's just you and a bunch of these giant, towering, living statues that bleed a lot for some reason, right? And
hey, Alex,
every single time.
Hold on just a second, man.
You fight one of these bosses. Really there's a disembodied voice that addresses you.
I'm gonna try restarting
and
the
all
the
that
voice call on
disembodied
Discord.
voice is saying is go that way. That's it.
You there?
Yeah.
I don't know what happened, but you went super robotic.
Oh.
Yeah,
not
like
good.
the connection signal went down to red. So I was like, oh, that's not good.
Yeah, no, that was weird because your stream is disabled.
Yeah, I went and turned that may be causing it, so I just disabled that. Sorry about that. Go ahead and go back onto your rant.
Oh no, that's it. There's nothing necessary to make it any better than it has to be. Shadow of the Colossus had no business being that good for the PlayStation 2, where the only enemies were the bosses. And technically speaking, they don't even really fight you.
Yeah. They just kind of wander around.
Awesome.
Yeah. Yeah, that's the idea, right? Like the ability to deliver a story without necessarily, shoving everything in your face. And unfortunately, one of the games in here does not do that basically at all. And the other one I think actually does a really good job of it. And we'll talk about that right now, actually. So I'm going to really quick just kind of plug in Blade and Sorcery. So technically this game it did actually come out back in, did you say 2018, Alex?
I believe so, yeah.
So the original release, if you will, was 2018 in early access. And when I say early access, I mean it was barely an alpha. This is one of those games that you really watch get developed, over time. For those of you who don't know, Blade and Sorcery is probably the best sword fighting game in VR, bar none. The fact that it also comes with the ability to cast spells and things is pretty cool. The spells are just they're okay. Like, they're not amazing or anything. If you really learn how to use them, they can get pretty cool, but it takes a little bit more skill. Whereas the blade component of it is just sword fighting. If you have any level of expertise in sword fighting, whether it be fencing or just any kind of sparring like that, you're gonna really like this because the techniques work. There's actual weight in the swords. It slows you down a little bit, so it's not like some of the other ones where you're able to move literally as fast as your controller will allow you to. It'll feel sluggish, and that adds a level of character to the game. I think it's really good. It technically officially released in June 2024, as it left the early access, and it is a completely different game now. It actually has like a story mode, so to speak. They're still releasing updates and things for it, but just not as frequently because it is officially done. The game is complete in that it does what it wants to be, and that is be a sword fighting simulator. And it's really, really cool and really good at that. I, again, think it's probably one of the best VR games. Maybe the only other one that I would say would come with this level of appeal or go beyond that would have to be Beat Saber. Which honestly, maybe I should have put that in here, but I'm terrible at Beat Saber, so I'm gonna put Blade and Sorcery in mid-grade great tier. What do you think, Alex?
I would say great tier. I'd say good tier.
Really?
Yeah. I feel like don't get me wrong, good sandbox for what it does, but I feel like it just doesn't. I don't know. Unless you're big into VR, like solo VR, I feel like it just doesn't have any sort of like appeal other than it just being a sandbox.
I think they're working on a co-op, or it may already be out.
Right, but even then, it's still just kind of like a sandbox.
It is. I mean, it is, but it isn't. The story mode is, it's kind of a sandbox, but you're moving, laterally through a location, which I think is pretty cool. The exploration part of it, being able to climb walls and jump and things like that is really cool. It's not just a flat sand pit with swords like it used to be. Like that, when it first came out, it was literally just like one map with some enemies and like 3 swords. And it was revolutionary at the time. No game had even come close to that. And here we are almost 8 years later, and the game is completely different. So,
Swords of Gargantua was good.
I have not played that one.
I think you would like it.
Is that a VR title?
Yeah.
Oh, I'll have to look into that. But,
yeah, that also came out in 2018, and that one's essentially you and some allies, if you want to, are essentially like doing the SAO thing, where it's like floor bosses, essentially, and as you progress through the floors, the bosses get harder.
That's pretty good.
And they'll keep spawning. It's actually really, really cool. But there's everything from like magic to swords to throwing weapons to different builds if you really want to, stuff like that. But the way that it works is it's kind of like a roguelike, where you just see how far you can go. But when you come back, you gain both experience and in-game currency that you can use to upgrade things for future runs.
Now let me ask, does it have mod capability?
Yes.
Okay. That said, I'll split the difference because I would have done mid-grade great. I'm gonna put it at just below Wukong.
Right.
So I think that's a good fit. And last but not least, I had to leave this game for last because technically it came out several years ago, but it is one of those games that I continue to go back to. It is probably one of my all-time favorite games at this point, and it has nothing to do with the story. The story is good, don't get me wrong. There were definitely, you know, there were some things I would have changed in there. The body language on occasion, and again, it's just the capability of the engine, felt a little strange at times, sort of under-animated, but again, that's sort of capability of the engine. The gameplay mechanics within the game are phenomenal. I think the way that they managed to capture D&D within Baldur's Gate 3, there are no games that even come close to this, other than like maybe a D&D simulator, which again is literally just the game. But to be able to integrate it so well into a platform within something that is so replayable. I think I checked, and at one point I have like 400 hours in this. Something like that. I must have played through it at least like 9+ times, and
I'm only at 112. I'm sorry, 114. I'm at 114.
Gotcha. Let me see.
On my one playthrough.
Let me see. I don't want to overspeak, because some of them I definitely like. I abandoned a couple playthroughs. Mainly
there's one game. I'm sorry, 2 games that I think come pretty close to Baldur's Gate. Divinity Original Sin and Divinity Original Sin 2, which are the same thing technically. Also by Larian, just not technically Dungeons and Dragons.
Right.
But it's pretty close. It's pretty good.
Yeah, no, I'm 100% with you. Let's see.
Where would you put Baldur's Gate 3?
It says what do you mean I have 3 hours in Baldur's Gate? Okay, Steam, something's funny. Let's see, my game contents, game info.
Is it only tracking online hours?
I have no idea, because I've never actually played it online. And I checked it at Hallmat, and it said I had like 600 hours or something. I want to say it was like 600 hours. I could be wrong. Iron, if you're listening, correct me in the comments, because I think you heard what I said, but for some reason Steam's telling me I only have 3 hours in it. I know that's not accurate. I've played it like 9 times. I love the characters in it. I think they're all very interesting. They all feel like actual characters that people would create. I only wish that they had at least one meme character, because there's always that one guy in the D&D party that is going to create a character that is completely bonkers. Looking at you, what is it, Thick D Moose? Like
D Thick Moose.
That's it. Yeah. Like there's always that one guy that makes a joke character, and I kind of wish that they ported that over.
I cannot believe I sat down in my dining room with my player's handbook with him and helped him make that monstrosity.
We're gonna have to play that on the channel. I honestly think we're gonna have to do that.
Dude, I would love to do like a tabletop, what do you call it, like a Tavern Talks Spelljammer kind of deal. I would love to do that.
And you know what? Iron actually mentioned that he would potentially be interested to join, so that may be our other player. So we'll definitely get you guys introduced, and maybe a Thursday night we can do that. So just got to talk about it. But that said, honestly, for the amount of replayability that Baldur's Gate has, for the number of different ways to play it, for all the customization and the absolute blood, sweat, and tears and total amounts of love that Larian put into this game, I think it would be a shame to put it in anything shy of God tier.
Yeah.
And it's,
I think
I'll put it low grade God tier, because I do have a couple complaints here. But the thing is, Larian actually listened to its audience. It actually listened and implemented changes. And not just that, but the entirety of the cast for Baldur's Gate also put so much love into it.
So good.
Like,
I'll say this. Even if Baldur's Gate came out as good but not great, I think that Larian as a studio, I'd probably put in God tier.
Oh, absolutely. Because the thing is, like
here's what attracted me, right? Here's what got me into playing Baldur's Gate 3, right? Because I initially didn't want to play it. I got it because a friend wanted me to play it with them, and we just never ended up linking up and playing it. But Larian made a statement before the game came out. This was back when it was like still very much in early access. Where they were talking about how they're not going to make it, like DLC driven or microtransaction ridden or anything like that. What they essentially said was, we're going to give you a game and it's going to be a complete game. It's going to have replayability. It's going to feel good, but that's it.
Yep.
We're not going to try and milk this cash cow and milk your wallets dry. We're not doing that. We're going to give you one good game. And you guys, if you like it, you like it. If you don't. But we want you to feel like you actually got your money's worth.
100%.
And that alone was the biggest middle finger, the biggest FU to the industry that I've ever seen. And with that alone, that statement alone gave me faith in the gaming industry as a whole all over again. Because it felt like someone actually took a stand and was like, you know what? I don't like it here anymore, and it's not great, but we belong here. Also, EA, FU.
Yeah. And like
Ubisoft, FU.
That's exactly it, right? The thing that I see with Larian that I don't see with the overwhelming majority of game companies, and there are definitely a few that I would, flip the script and say they exhibited even more than Larian, but as far as a large game studio, and I'd consider them relatively large, the fact that they've well, maybe not in the grand scheme of things. They're not an EA or a Ubisoft or some of these others, but they're
publishers. They're not technically dev teams, but yeah.
Right. So, but that said, they just show such large amounts of love and respect for the player fan base. They don't show disdain like you get with the Assassin's Creed group or some of the games that come out of EA or Far Cry, and where they're like, oh, well, if you don't like it, then don't play the game, go somewhere else. They're not like that. They look at it and say, we want to make a game that everybody can love because we love players. And then it translates into the work. What I was getting ready to say before, I actually got to see the Baldur's Gate cast at Holiday Matsuri, and unfortunately, they're not going to be at MegaCon. We are going to get one more time. Asterion is again. Oh my gosh, his name. I'm gonna have to. I'll put it up here in a second. But here, 1 second.
Wait, are you talking about the voice actor?
Yeah.
Neil Newbin.
Isn't it Newborn?
I don't think it's Newborn. I thought it was Newbin.
Let me see. It is Newbin. I said that wrong before. Neil Newbin. Is going to be at MegaCon. We talked about that in the other episode. I'm sorry, Neil, if you're watching this. I doubt you are, but love you, man. You're awesome.
I can't believe you. I cannot believe he's Carl, dude, from Resident Evil. He's Xeon in Xenoblade Chronicles. How could you do this?
Legendary. But quite honestly, you can tell that these guys really love the people that play the games, that go to the events. We got to see these guys, and they love each other too. You can tell that there's a genuine chemistry. Like, they actually have fun getting together. That's not something you get with a lot of voice acting casts. It's usually just someone will come in, they'll record the lines, they'll do some press releases, and that's about it. That's all you're gonna get out of them. These guys will go to the conventions, they'll interact with the fans, they'll do, like, they played Dungeons and Dragons on a live stream, or excuse me, it was recording, but still, they recorded a large, well, it was a one shot, but even so, I think it was like 4 or 5 episodes. Like, who does that? They played their own characters in the game.
I feel like there is not enough love in the community for voice actors and actors that actually love what they do, and they're not just doing it for the bag.
100%.
Because I'll give perfect example. I'll give you the perfect example, right? You know who's another really, really good voice actor who really loves what they do? Sam Witwer. He is the voice actor for Starkiller in the
Man.
What was it? It was Star Wars
The Force Unleashed.
Yeah.
Wow.
And yeah, but he, no joke, I don't think I've seen any other like actor put more hours into like Star Wars Battlefield than he does when he streams. And his room is decorated to the brim with lightsabers. Like the dude is like him being the voice actor for Starkiller. He was like living his best life. And I remember when the tiny little thing I just want to add about Star Wars, when they called it Starkiller Base, I think he was justifiably upset. Because they called it Starkiller Base, and by doing so, they essentially killed off Starkiller the character.
Yeah.
Like as a possibility. And then, of course, Kathleen Kennedy's like, oh, well, it's not like we have any, like, this is Star Wars. This can end up being something new. It's not like we have, like, comic books or like, or, like, books to go off of. What?
Can you imagine?
What do you mean?
Can you imagine if Disney got a new CEO and this person steps in and says, you know what? Episodes 7 through 9 are no longer canon. We're just going to retcon it and do it again. Like I would lose my mind. I actually think that would be amazing for them to do so. They don't have the balls to do that, but that would be amazing. I would have so much respect for a CEO to say, you know what, all the corporate slop that we've been shoveling at you the last like 15 years, we're going to undo that. And we're going to start giving stuff. Like if they did that, I would immediately have 1,000 times more respect for Disney.
Honestly, they could bring back the actors too. I'd be okay if they brought back the actors and just gave them actually a good story, right? Because like I feel like a lot of those actors, they did a fantastic job. It's just that their characters were just poorly written.
And you know what?
Like I have zero against like Daisy, for example. I think she did a fantastic job as Rey. Awesome, I just think Rey sucked.
Yeah. So, I have no problem with
different episode.
Yeah.
Different time.
Yeah, we'll talk about that another time. Hey, if you guys want to see that, drop a comment down below. Let us know, and we will make that much faster because we love Star Wars, but it's a matter of prioritizing what you guys want to see, what we want to talk about, and figuring out how we can make that all click together. So with that, I believe this is our list. Am I mistaken? I know you can't see it.
I can't really think of anything.
Yeah, hold on. Let me share the screen again. Go live. There we go.
Let's just make sure it's ordered correctly.
Okay.
Like, let's make sure we agree on the order. Let's see. Amogus, Final Fantasy VII, Baldur's Gate.
I mean, this game's legendary. I think that belongs where it does.
There's literally no avoiding that one.
No.
Like I couldn't, as much as I would want to put it in great. Like if it was like original Final Fantasy VII, I would make the argument for great because I feel like Final Fantasy VII was overhyped because it just, I don't know, for what it just wasn't that great.
Yeah.
But I feel like for what that one is compared to the original, and then also what it's doing now, as in redefining what it means to make a game, I feel like they're doing a good job. And not only that, but they're making it worth my money.
Right.
Like it's fantastic. As far as great's concerned, I think I'd be willing to put Blade and Sorcery above Wukong.
Really?
Yeah, because as much as I want to like Wukong, unless you're really... Wukong is a breath of fresh air, and I feel like it hit at the right time, but I do feel like story-wise it's a little bit lacking.
Yeah.
But I do like the gameplay more than Elden Ring, personally, from what I've... from in my experience, but I feel like Elden Ring is overall better.
That's fair.
But I think Wukong development side and what it does and what it is, I feel like it's a breath of fresh air. I don't think it deserves any of the hate that it got. And also I'm putting it here so that way I know that people get pissed off.
Fair. But other than that, you good with the great category?
I think I'm good with the great category. Yeah.
Cool. Good category.
Yeah, I think... You know what? No. Let's take Wukong, put it behind Valheim.
Oh, okay. Cages have been rattled.
I don't think Wukong can compare to Valheim in terms of, like, what... Wukong is not... It's not great enough to surpass Valheim, but I don't think Valheim deserves to be in the great tier.
Okay.
So I think its place is justified. I feel like you get what you pay for with Wukong, which is a really good, compelling world, but also it's really, really, really hard to screw up Journey to the West.
I mean, just a reminder, everything from here to here is you should get this game within it. Like, if you enjoy the game, this is like if you enjoy the game in the category, get it. This is regardless of whether or not you enjoy the category, it's probably worth a play. And this is, for the love of God, please get this game.
Yeah. I think this is better. I think this is way better.
Cool. Okay, overhyped. I mean, it's only 2, so.
Put Tears of the Kingdom above Cold War. As much as I love the Cold War campaign and as much as I hated the Zelda storyline,
this is a better
I don't
game.
think Zelda deserves. Yeah, I think objectively speaking, I don't think Zelda deserves the amount of disrespect I give it.
Yeah.
I think it's good. I think I just have a problem with it. Granted, I do think Tears of the Kingdom was overhyped. I do think Breath of the Wild was just.
Oh, that's what the category's for.
Yeah. Like, I do think it was overhyped, but I don't think it's as overhyped as Cold War was. And I don't think Cold War was a breath of fresh air in a city filled with smog. but like,
and
I'd rather take a bad day in Colorado than a good day in China.
It's not.
I'm sorry.
It's not just the smog. It's the California Palisades smog. So it's all the rich people and the chemicals.
Also, if you're in LA, be safe.
Yes.
Just if you're in California, just do us all a favor. Just live, dude. Just
leave.
If there's an evacuation order, just leave. Just leave. Do it.
Yeah, get out of there. It's not worth it. I live there. I've got family there. Just leave.
Be safe. We love y'all. Hope to hear from you guys.
Go to Arizona until this blows over. You'll be good.
I hear they got sunshine.
Just a little bit.
Get it, Arizona sunshine.
Yeah. Oh, that could have been. Well, no, that's last decade. They got Arizona sunshine too, but I haven't played it yet. So
no, they don't. No. Bad.
Anyway, okay, moving on to the refund.
No, you know what should have been on this list? Oh, what was that game? What was it? It was damn it. Oh, the colorful and pretty kind of reminds me of Jet Set Radio. Hi-Fi Rush. Hi-Fi Rush should have been on this list. That would have been a good one.
You know what else I was surprised wasn't on here, mainly for the controversy, is Pow World.
Oh yeah, why didn't we put Power World on here?
I don't know.
I'd put that in great tier.
It's probably not as notable as some of these other ones, but like...
No, it's way more notable.
Than Pokemon?
Oh yeah.
You know what? We're gonna do it then. I mean, that's fair. That's fair. We both agree on that one. It kind of went against our own rules, but you know what? I run the show.
Yeah. Because Power World... Yeah, Power World came out in 2024 technically. But for what Power World is, yeah, I think it made a big enough splash. There was enough hype.
You put it in great?
Personally, I think I put it in great tier. I think I'd put it... I would put it... I put it above Half-Life Alyx, but I would also move Hogwarts Legacy above Animal Crossing.
Okay.
Potentially above a Half-Life Alyx, but also...
Honestly, I think this game's pretty good.
I don't know. They're both pretty good. They both piss people off.
They're pretty equal, honestly. I think they're pretty much the same. We'll just say they're the same. Alphabetical order. Half-Life.
Let's put Hogwarts. I think we should put Hogwarts above Half-Life Alyx just because of accessibility.
Oh dang! You know what? That's fair because not everyone has VR.
One's a VR exclusive. The other one, it's on every console, including the Switch for some reason.
That's wild. The fact the Switch can run this is crazy.
Yeah, it can't. It can't.
All right, so
no, it can't.
So refund category. We're good with this.
Yeah, no, yeah, because Scarlet Violet better than Overwatch 2.
All right, Well, then you've heard it, everybody. Just to recap, we moved a couple things around. We put Power World in here because it's an absolute shame that this wasn't on the list before, but we just both forgot about it until like right now. So
I completely forgot about that. I feel almost guilty.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, this was a cultural phenomenon, and the lawsuit that it sparked, like, that is just crazy.
The fact that don't get me wrong, I have opinions. I feel like Pokemon has a legitimate concern for some of the designs for some of these Pokemon. Like it's a clear, okay, no, that's just straight up copying, right? But all in all, though, Power World did a great job. A lot of its designs are unique. I think the game is perfectly fine, and also just one of the I think it was like one of the lead dev or something like that. One of the creators of the game made a statement about the sudden drop in the active player base. Straight up saying, hey, I see a lot of you guys aren't playing Power World anymore. That's okay. I'm glad you played the game. Thank you for giving me your time. I do hope to see you in the future, but if you're playing other games, that's okay too. And I hope you enjoy those games. And hopefully whenever when everything's said and done and you do decide to come back, I hope we'll still be here.
That's pretty cool. You know, I like
that was wholesome and a massive W. And I'm like, even if he's just saying it for PR sake,
no, that's the
cool
right thing to do. Because like there are so many devs that get butthurt where it's like, why aren't you playing my game? And it's like, your game is not the end all, you know, unless you've made one of these. You know, you really don't have any ground to complain of when someone's not playing your game. Like, sorry, I didn't.
Don't get me wrong.
Hogwarts this week.
Yeah, Rainbow Six Siege? No, I totally get it. But you know what I get even more? Among Us. Wait, where's Valorant?
Oh, we didn't put it on the list because we were only putting 10. But Power World, I felt like we had to talk about that because Pokemon came up and somehow Power World didn't.
Power World didn't. Yeah, no, you're right.
Oh man, but there you go, ladies and gentlemen. This is the official Velvet Games, what we think is the best and not best games of the 2020s so far. There are a lot of other games. We could have spent many hours. We're already at 2.5 hours on recording. Granted, I'm clipping some of this, so it won't go quite that long. If you've made it this far, message me down below. You know, put a comment down there. Say that you made it all the way to the end, and I will give you a special role in the Discord if you come to the Discord. But you got to come to the Discord. So that link is also in the description. So check that out. Join us over there. If you want to be on this podcast, we have a channel set up for that now. Actually, if you go to the Velvet Games Discord, it's called the Recruiter's Office. If you go in there and just type out and say, you know, what kind of stuff you like, the fact you want to be on the channel, we can make that happen, potentially. You know, if you're a good fit, we vibe well, and we feel like you'd be a good personality to have on here, we'll absolutely have you on the show. I've got no qualms. You don't got to be famous. You don't got to be my best friend. We'll have you on and have a good time, talking about a variety of random nerd stuff. So make that happen. We're looking forward to seeing
Star Wars tier list win.
Star Wars tier list. Oh, that would go really fast. I mean, you got like 10 minutes and we go through the whole thing.
No. I'm not talking just movies. I'm talking about Star Wars. Okay. I want an entire episode dedicated on Sith Lords.
You know what? Tell you what, maybe we'll look at that right around, let's see, when is May 4th?
That would be the May 4th.
Oh, it's a Sunday. Oh, we can do it. We can do it in reverence and respect for May the 4th. Maybe we do that. We'll do a May the 4th special for Star Wars. We could do something during the week.
That'd be awesome. Just an entire episode dedicated to Sith Lords where me, Iron, and Jonathan are just being absolutely like obsessive about it. Maybe would be fantastic.
Maybe we do a Cogent, because I know George actually used to run, I don't know if he still does it, but he used to run like a Star Wars Cogent. I might see if I can get the system from him and we do something like that, because that could be fun.
I'd be down.
So we'll have to look into that. But yeah, with that, let me save this, because I want to save the image. Save as image. I said save as image. There we go. Oh, and it just made another one. Cool. Anyway, with that said, Alex, do you have any more input on this tier list or anything in regards to that?
Halo Infinite was poopy and Halo 4 was better. And Halo 4 is poopy, but Halo 2 is amazing. If Halo 2 was just a game, I'd put it in God tier. just the one game on here, Halo 2.
You know
Bump
what?
it up in God tier.
You know what? If you made it this far and you want it, let us know. We could do a top games of all time.
Oh,
That would be fun.
oh my God, I have so many opinions.
Oh, well, we'll have to do it in a time frame that isn't 2.5 hours, but we'll make that work. So anyway, with that, I want to thank you guys all for watching. And if you have any comments to drop down below, make sure you do that. You like the video, subscribe to Velvet Games for more content, ring that bell so you're notified when new stuff comes out. And I will see you guys in the next video. Thank you so much for watching. As always, stay awesome.